pin our hopes to the ground, but we can work it out. 'Cause giving in is oh so hard, but love is at stake. Where there's a will, there's a way. Now if we only knew how, learning to love, learning to laugh and fear, learning to fight through these years that bring us closer together. Learning to love, learning the first golden rule, knowing that anything is possible. 'Cause nothing's gonna keep us from, nothing's gonna keep us from learning the ropes.
Greetings and salutations, everybody, and welcome on into Learning the Ropes. I'm Xlj the Og, joined by my partner in crime, my brother from another, Mr. B-Roll.
Is it just me, or does that theme song get a little better each week? I mean, it's only the second week we've done it, but
Yeah.
it gets a little better each week.
It really does. It really warms my heart and my cockles. And I say cockles. Anyways, it's a pretty awesome song. But thank you so much for joining us here on this Sunday night. We appreciate y'all. And we're going to have a fun, amazing show tonight. And I just got to say this before we start. You always talk about giving flowers. I want to give some flowers to you, sir, for that opening and for everything you do for Cole TV, Learning the Ropes, and all of us. You are awesome. Your graphics are second to none. Everything you do is you kick ass, you take names, and I love you, buddy.
I love you too, brother, but stop it. You're going to make me blush. You're going to make me as red as this shirt here.
So, as always with our Learning the Ropes, we always kick it off with a little Plug-a-Palooza.
What?
Yes, and, well, if you follow me on the TikToks, you may know that tonight we have a very special guest that's coming on. And he's going to join us here at the top of the hour, so...
Yeah, I think he's in the comments letting us know he's here too.
Yeah, so let's let him on in.
All right, to turn this thing around. There we go. Hello, everybody. It's everybody's favorite dog, Chubby. And have I got an announcement for you? This week on the YouTubes on Bastard TV, it is going to be Chubby TV. That's right, it's my birthday week and I'm taking over. So this week on Chubby TV, you can catch exclusive content all involving me. You'll see all sorts of shots, a best of Chub Life retrospective, and the newest episode of Chub Life entitled It's My Birthday. Because it is, you fucks. And it's going to be an incredible show because we have all sorts of guest stars coming on, including a few celebrity cameos, so you're going to have to check that out. And in addition to that, check this out. Well, Bastard, don't you look ever so uninspiring in that stupid t-shirt you're wearing?
What? What's wrong with this shirt? I mean, it's comfortable, it's nothing fancy.
Well, if you were going for the I haven't washed my clothes in over a week and I'm going to Walmart, so fuck it, look, then you have succeeded.
Okay, fine.
It's okay, Bastard, because I have you covered. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. Chubby merchandise is now available. That's right, so don't be like Bastard and wear this stupid ass shirt. Instead, go get your exclusive Chubby merchandise over at sweetdollfacecreations.bigcartel.com. And it's so easy to do, even a bastard can do it. All you have to do is go over to Sweet Dollface Creations website, click on Bastard TV, or Girl TV, and there you will find my exclusive merchandise available tomorrow. And don't worry, we have all different shapes and sizes, and you can choose between both a black and white t-shirt, because Chubby loves you all. But wait, there's more. We have Chubby hoodies, we have Chubby beanies, that sounds like a Kama Sutra move, and we even have shirts for children, because children love the Chubs just as much as they love that Peppa Pig fuck. And if you're feeling extra slutty, why don't you get yourself a Chubby crop top?
You know, Chubby, I gotta admit, that's some pretty sweet merch.
That's right, Bastard. And guess what? In celebration of my birthday week, this week, if you go over to sweetdollfacecreations.bigcartel.com and use the code Chubby when you check out, you get 10% off of your purchase of all your Chubby merchandise. So what are you waiting for? Go on over and buy my shirt. Buy my shirt. Buy them now. Buy them all. Buy them in bulk. And don't forget to use the code Chubby to save 10% off your entire purchase. Well, there you have it. I can't think of a better way to celebrate my birthday than to buy some of my merch and check out Chubby Week on Chubby TV. Alright, and now it's time to get you back to the Learning the Ropes with Bastard and Bastard's Friend. If you excuse me, I have to lick my genitalia.
Oh, Chubby.
Oh, is the world prepared for Chubby Week? I don't think the world is. I don't. Yeah.
It's gonna be nuts. He's got all. I'm just letting him take over the reins. So God, I hope we're gonna have a YouTube after this week.
So he's got control.
Yeah, he's doing shorts. We've got a best of Chub Life retrospective coming out on Wednesday and Friday. A brand new episode of Chub Life, and he did mention we've got a lot of cameos in that episode, including some celebrities. So
yeah, I mean, I wonder what could be in store. You never know with Chubby. You never know.
You never know. So.
That is the one thing that you can count on is you do not know what you're going to get from Chubby. I mean, and I'm also live on the Tiki Talkie as well. So see if we can't get some people to come over to the dark side and go to
what the hell are you doing on the TikTok? You're supposed to be on the YouTube. Damn it. I'm trying to produce this show. I don't know how many times I'm going to come on at the beginning and jump your ass. I mean, if you're trying to self-promote, that's fine and all, but you could do that before we go live. We're live, pal. We're live on the YouTube. And damn it, I need you to focus. Focus before I come over there. I come over there. See my muscle? Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. See? I'm flexing. Get your shit together. Damn!
I know, Ron. And
why are you so mean to him, Ron?
Yeah.
Hey, you're just as guilty for this too, Xlj. You need to get your shit together and get going. Damn!
I mean, basically everyone say hi to our producer, Ron. I mean, he
Hello.
Usually makes his presence known at least once a show, and it usually involves yelling at me.
We did him a favor to let him produce this show, and it's like he's jumping down our throats. It's like, gosh, just chill, dude. Just chill. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah. And we even have like a bigger favor that we're doing for him, like coming up in April. I don't know if we want to divulge that yet, but
oh yeah, he's going to be a guest at our table at Squared Circle Expo, and he'll be signing autographs.
Yeah, he'll be signing autographs.
Yeah, so you can come meet Ron. But that's then. This is now. We are talking the history of WrestleMania. So let's just get right into the topic. And folks, we are not alone. Oh no, Mr. B-Roll, how about we bring in our special guest?
Let's do so. Coming in first, you may know him from the Tiki Talkie. You may know him from his YouTube channel. You may know him because he's done a charity live stream that we are still awaiting the much anticipated music video for Extreme League Wrestling.
I want you to know Daisy Dukes are being bought this weekend, this week. So things are happening.
Things are in motion.
And I just confused a whole lot of people, and you know what? I'm just gonna let that lie.
Yep. Somebody was viewing for the very first time. Like, I'll check these guys out. They're over on the YouTube, Cole TV, Learning the Ropes live right now. That was for you, TikTok. You get your butts over here. But link in bio. But yeah. Daisy Dukes.
Mm-hmm. It's about that time.
It's about that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Well, if anybody knows how to rock a set of Daisy Dukes, I'd say it'd be our next guest. Would you not?
Yeah. Yes. Perfect segue, good sir. Coming up next, you know him, you love him. He is the Wrestle Talk drip god, Hambone. Hambone bone, because we love the bone.
Can't get enough of the bone.
Confused even more people who don't know the story behind the Daisy Duke. But also, Extreme League, I want you to know that with a pair of scissors, any pair of jeans can be a pair of Daisy Dukes.
I only got 2 pairs, brother.
Well, there's the problem in and of itself.
Can anybody else admire the admiration of Hambone's drip, but the fact that he is waving a Slim Jim around right now?
I am.
Yes.
I have one on deck for, when I'm ready for it.
He's like,
Step into it.
This is my scepter. I will rule this.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, hey, we have got a fun show here tonight because we're doing part 3 now of WrestleMania. If you've been following us now, we are kind of in that ruthless aggression type of era. And it's funny because WrestleMania is going Hollywood this year. But how about we kick off tonight and talk about the original WrestleMania that went Hollywood, and we're talking WrestleMania 21. Now, I find this one very interesting because there's a lot of important things that happen on this WrestleMania. Not only important to the history of WrestleMania and the WWE, but professional wrestling in general. I mean, you talk about like a beginning of an era, so to speak. You have not one, but 2 mega stars created on this show, essentially, with their first real big moment. And I'm talking about Batista and John Cena, who respectively won in their main event matches, winning the WWE title and the World Heavyweight title. Guys, I got to ask you, starting off first, what do you remember about that WrestleMania 21 build with those 2 championship matches?
Well, I don't remember every single WrestleMania build like that. I'm going to be honest with you, XLJ. But what I was thinking about this set of WrestleMania events that we're talking about here, what really sticks out to me about these years is that this is really where WrestleMania becomes known for, all right, we're going to be putting on banger matches all night, every night. Before this, you might have gotten, 1 or 2 with the main events or something like that. But this is really where I feel like this era is when everybody really stepped up to make WrestleMania the place to watch banger matches.
Yeah.
Man, you just ticked Kevin Kelly off. Banger twice. Twice.
I gotta admit, I'm with Kevin. I'm not a huge fan of the term, but you know what? I get it. Nonetheless, you have a valid point, though. I mean, you're right. I mean, this is really the era where you start seeing those high caliber, true like WrestleMania moments and matches and stuff. Extremely.
This is honestly several of my favorite WrestleMania matches are in this era. At least I can think of at least 4 just off the top of my head. So.
Yeah, and that's there's so many more too. Extreme League, what about you? What do you remember about kind of the buildup of John Cena and Batista at this time frame?
So, I mean, of course, like with the main event, you have the infamous like thumbs up, thumbs down Batista build to it, which is going to be forever in my GIF folder on my computer, just because it's such an iconic moment. I hate JBL with a burning passion, and if I ever find him on the street, it is on site. I will pay for a meet and greet. But joking, of course, aside. Also, looking here at the match card, apart from our 2 wonderful championship matches that, of course, are way more important than the one I'm about to mention, I forgot the sumo match happened on this card.
I knew you were going there.
Yeah,
I knew you were going there.
That's what I answered your question with Extreme League. This is my pick for the worst WrestleMania match ever.
And somehow you had it at number 10 on your list, wasn't it?
No, it was number 9, but I appreciate that you guys watch my channel. At least you know my ranking. It was number 9, mainly just because we can get more into this later, but actual sumo, like really big stage professional sumo is very entertaining. I don't know what the hell this is. Yeah. Like, I'm just seeing a man walk out in a diaper and
if you
slap around a little bit.
Frame it, I think you can see Aki Bono's junk at one point in this match. Not that I've done that or anything, but I'm just saying it's out
my
there.
Goodness.
Oh man,
You can see Aki Bono's Aki Bono.
Ah, you beat me to it.
There's a bonism for you. But just so the folks at home know, we do actually have our first poll live right now, and that is using banger to describe matches. Yes or no?
I'll be interested to hear how that comes out.
So far,
What other term can I use?
I don't know. Great match, phenomenal match, awesome match.
Barn burner?
Classic. Barn burner. I do like barn burner.
Slobber
That's a
knocker.
good one.
What about slobber knocker?
Well, hey,
It's a
okay,
slap a good time.
all kidding aside, there is a barn burner of a fucking match on this show. And I think it easily, you could say it's in the top 5 greatest WrestleMania matches all time. Going into it on paper, you're like, holy shit, this is like a dream match. And I got to tell you, folks, this match lived up to the hype and then some. And of course, you know I'm talking about Christy Hemme versus Trish Stratus. Gotcha, bitch! No, I am, of course, talking Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle. What a fucking amazing match that is. And I honestly think, we're talking about this era tonight. It's a great era. I really think, like, this kicks off, and because he had some phenomenal matches before, but this era of Shawn Michaels, this is the definitive. This is why he's known as Mr. WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels. Yep. Because after this, it's just fucking amazing match after amazing match.
As a Shawn Michaels mark, I mean, you guys know if you watch my videos, he is my all-time favorite. And this is exactly what I was talking about. This is one of the matches right off the top of my head. Just amazing match. And Kurt Angle, another one. Kurt Angle is probably in my top 10 favorite all-time wrestlers. So this match, it's amazing. And it's one of those ones that it doesn't matter how many years goes by, you can go back and watch it, and it's still just mind-blowingly good.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because, I mean, I'm coming from a different perspective to where, like, 21 was the start of what I would consider my fandom of Manias, because I am a bit younger than you guys. Can you believe I'm 16? Life's been a bit rough. Kidding, of course. But this is really the start of, like, WrestleMania to me being a really huge stage. And, like, I remember watching a lot of, because that's when my fandom was the later Shawn Michaels years, the post losing Smile and coming back to wrestling. And then I remember being older and saying, like, oh, let me grab some of Shawn Michaels' younger work. And yeah, it's good, but man, coming back, getting right and healthy was the best thing this man ever did. And I honestly think that's why he has the legacy that he does now, not only in wrestling, but with this event.
I agree. Man, I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, I think Shawn healing up, coming back from the injury, and having that run that he did, it is mostly defined by these era of WrestleMania matches. I mean, honestly, we're going to talk about this a little bit. If you can get a good match out of Vince McMahon, you're pretty fucking talented. I'm just saying. But,
I mean, he did tag with God against him, so I mean, maybe he had a little bit to do with it. I don't know.
This again is 1-0 with God, so
for now.
Kenny who?
Kenny who? There you go.
We know that in the end, God will win, though, Xlj.
He's got him. One way or the other, he's going to get him.
That is right. And honestly, since he said Kenny, I'm going to go. When you said barn burner match, I thought you were talking about this Wednesday, honestly. Because that is going to be a banger. It's going to be a banger.
It's going to be a good match, but that's then.
A banger.
Goes right through my veins, but it's good. I still love it, buddy.
But I do agree. It's kind of funny if you think about it. Again, Shawn Michaels' mark. He comes back in 2002 from his back injury, and we're not really sure that how much Shawn are we gonna get. And he's kind of just playing it by ear, and then we get like 10 years out of him. And really, I think if you take those 10 years after the back injury and put it against what Shawn did before, he had way better matches afterwards. And that's coming from somebody who fell in love with him during, his original run. But I'd put up this run afterwards against anything he did before.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we were talking about incredible moments on this card, important moments. What about this too? This is the WrestleMania that saw the debut of one of the most popular matches in WWE history. Talking about the very first Money in the Bank. What's up, Deontay? How you doing? the very first Money in the Bank matchup happens at this WrestleMania. And I think everybody knows the story. Pretty much Chris Jericho is the one who came up with the idea behind this matchup. And it's funny because Edge was the winner of the first one, but he didn't really want to do this matchup. He didn't want to win this match. But, like, you know, of course, could you imagine if Edge didn't win this matchup? Where would have Edge's career went? Because, I mean, that Money in the Bank, that gave him, you know, he made the Money in the Bank what it is today. It's all about that cash in, the ultimate opportunist, right?
I mean, he could still be fighting over who gets to talk in a shampoo commercial.
Yeah.
We talked about that last week.
That was, yeah, a classic of a matchup. A banger there. No. Oh, man.
My legit question was like, was this real? Like, what was the real brand of this? Like, I need to know. I need to, like, dig into the archives and, like, find this commercial.
Yeah.
It's there. It's there somewhere.
You don't. You're good, bro. You don't need it. Trust us. This WrestleMania too. Not to end this talking about this WrestleMania on a down note, but one thing about this WrestleMania is this would be the very last WrestleMania for the late great Eddie Guerrero. And what a hell of a matchup he had on this card, wrestling Rey Mysterio in the opening contest. And I believe it was billed at the time, and I can't recall if it still was the first one, but I think it's the first time where World Tag Team Champions went one-on-one with each other at WrestleMania.
Yep, another great match out of another one of my all-time favorites, Eddie Guerrero. I mean, did Eddie really ever have a bad match? You know, I'd like somebody to show it to me if it did happen. But I think the same thing about Rey. You know, we talked about Rey on our podcast this week, you know, with the Hall of Fame inductions. And I think that this match is a great example of what I said, which is, as great as we know that Rey Mysterio is, I still think that we don't give him the credit for how good he is. You know, he's so much more, you know, he comes from Lucha Libre, but he is so much more than that. He's just a great straight up wrestler. And again, this is just like with Sean during this time, he's just putting on amazing wrestling matches with anybody that he's put against. Ray's another guy. Never seen a bad match from him. If there's one out there, I'd like somebody to show it to me because I don't think it exists.
And he's got some good ones we're going to be talking about on this our show tonight, and there's going to be some hidden gems as well. I think on this are going to be on this list. But before we move on here to our next WrestleMania, because that's going to be a huge part of Rey Mysterio, a couple of the other moments to highlight from this WrestleMania. This also did have a one-on-one matchup with Randy Orton against The Undertaker. Which was an okay match. It wasn't anything spectacular, but I mean, it was a decent and good enough matchup. And of course, they did have the infamous Piper's Pit with Stone Cold Steve Austin, where Carlito came out and interrupted. And yeah, that's showing a thing of its time. And you talk about something showing of its time. Who can forget when Muhammad Hassan jumped Eugene? And then, of course, the Real American Music hits. Oh, joy. Here comes the Hulkster and his artificial hip. And yeah, fuck Hulk Hogan. Anyways.
Just call it canceled the segment.
Yeah.
We got Muhammad Hassan, Eugene, Hulk, all the ugliness that you can think of. Imagine putting that on TV in 2023. I think Twitter would actually implode.
Yes.
You know, this is like a side quest just because we brought up Hulk Hogan, but I believe, you know, he was on, you know, Raw 30 last time, and I don't think we're ever going to see Hulk on WWE TV again. His reception was not good. And I think that, you know, Triple H and those in power are probably going to realize that. And I don't think Hulk's going to be back on WWE TV again.
That's not going to hurt my feelings.
No, me neither,
brother.
Fuck Hulk Hogan.
Fuck Hulk Hogan.
Fuck Hulk Hogan.
And on that note, let's fast forward to a year later to WrestleMania 22.
I really feel like that could be a T-shirt for us, though. Sorry.
Fuck Hulk Hogan.
Fuck Hulk Hogan, not in the fun way.
All right, I'm going to tell a really quick side story. I'm going to keep this to 30 seconds or less because we've got a lot of show here. But one of my first bonding moments with a friend of mine, and now I'm choked up. So
don't die.
It's okay. Don't cry. It's okay. We're here for you.
It hits him right in the feelings.
Fuck Massachusetts, yeah. I don't know who said that, but yeah, JCP. Oh man, that was crazy. Literally just had a hair or something go down my
It's
throat.
like a leg drop to the throat, brother.
I know. I think Hulk Hogan like knew I was going to. Anyways, so with my with a friend of mine, we were talking wrestling for the first time and talking who we liked, we didn't like, and we were drunk, by the way. And we simultaneously said at the same time after this 30 minutes in this conversation, "Fuck Hulk Hogan," and then proceeded to rip our shirts off and throw them away. Yeah, that happened. That was a moment. A moment
Nice.
of time.
I was there.
You say it.
Not really.
Anywho, so let's talk about WrestleMania 22. And there's a lot of elements off of this WrestleMania, important things that happen as well. But honestly, to me, the biggest takeaway I have from this WrestleMania, and I know there's kind of been moments and segments in other WrestleMania, but I really felt like this is the first WrestleMania that really, from top to bottom, the crowd took over the show. Because that Chicago crowd was fucking hot, man. And I mean, you go into that main event with Triple H against John Cena, everybody was like, fuck John Cena, because they didn't want to have the guy who was being shoved down their throat. And this really, I felt like this WrestleMania 2 was kind of the first one where you really started seeing like where people really hated John Cena. Because you got to keep in mind, it's still not the, the kissing babies and like, John Cena. This is like hustle, loyalty, and respect, and I've got the spinner belt and blah, blah, blah. So, oh, you were there. Okay. That's interesting. So I'm sure that was a lively crowd. I would have loved to have been there for this WrestleMania.
Yeah, Chicago crowds are.
Yeah, Chicago
something
crowds
else.
are notorious, but yeah.
They definitely hit different.
But this WrestleMania had some really great matches on it. We got to talk about Mr. WrestleMania, so let's get right into that. Shawn Michaels 1-on-1 against Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Okay, going into this, I was like, I really don't give a shit about this matchup because, I mean, it's just like, okay, it's going to be another typical Vince McMahon matchup. But once again, love him or hate him, you got to give credit to credit was due. Shawn Michaels was somehow able to pull a hell of a matchup out of Vince McMahon. And, like, Vince McMahon, too, as much of a douchebag and of an asshole he is, still, like, he like, with his facials in this matchup and just the ending where he's being taken off on the gurney and he's, like, flipping off, like, Shawn. And he's like in a bloodied mess. It's just like, that's one of the images I always remember from this WrestleMania. Guys, what were your thoughts on this banger of a matchup?
Well, again, as a Shawn Michaels fan, obviously this was not my favorite of his matches. I felt the same way as you, but it's like you said. I mean, Shawn is. You didn't say this, but I'm saying it. Shawn is the GOAT. He just is. He can pull a good match out of anybody. He pulled a good match out of Vince, sure. Would I say I was excited or happy about it? Would I say that this is where I wanted my all-time favorite to be on a WrestleMania card? Not really. But it was a decent enough match. But that the part with the gurney was a great little touch for it, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say this. While I adamantly detest Vince McMahon, fuck Vince McMahon.
Fuck Vince
Fuck Hulk
McMahon.
Hogan and fuck Vince McMahon.
Fuck Vince.
Fuck Hulk Hogan. Fuck Vince McMahon. Put it on a shirt.
Put it on my face. Tattoo it right here. But I will say the one thing about Vince is that he knew people loved to see him get his ass kicked. And he knew when to deliver. He has like the opposite of the Triple H mindset to where it's like, oh, people want to see me get beat. I shouldn't just stand over here and bury people. And the spot where Vince is laying on the table and he has the trash can over his head and Shawn Michaels drops the elbow. I don't know why, for me personally, that's just like such an iconic moment. And I'm sure if you've ever been angry at a boss, you've seen that clip and you've gone, yeah, that sounds good right about now.
Yeah, I can relate to this. I can definitely relate to this. And this episode so far.
I like that shirt idea,
there you go.
brother.
Hulk Hogan tried to fuck on me.
How do you like that, brother? Yes. That's good shit, pal.
It's the shirt.
It would explain.
Hogan fucked on me.
It would explain so much, though. It explains so much. The big push that he got, and just everything.
There you
Explain a lot.
But hey, we mentioned this guy earlier, and we got to give him credit where credit due. How about this maybe be the career-defining moment of Rey Mysterio's career? And my gosh, I just want to say this to you, the drip god himself. You talk about fashion. Rey Mysterio's entrance gear for this WrestleMania, holy shit, with the Pueblo stuff and POD playing him in and stuff. That's one of my favorite WrestleMania entrances, I think. I fucking love that.
Yeah. I mean, Ray is absolute. I mean, we're talking WrestleMania. He always, goes all out for WrestleMania. But in my opinion, Ray is one of the drippiest professional wrestlers to ever exist, not only in the ring, but outside of the ring. We covered him, at one point on our podcast too, just because of how fashionable he is. As a matter of fact, I have a feeling that Rey Mysterio is going to be in the finals of March Mad Drip. If you're watching our podcast,
or the Mysterios, right?
The Mysterios, yes.
His old Dom sporting that art bar stuff's pretty badass.
Yeah, man, absolutely. But yeah, Ray always pulls it out for WrestleMania. Can't wait to see what he does at this one, because I kind of have a feeling it might be his last. So I am looking forward to see what he pulls out this year as well.
Yeah, but what was interesting about this? So we're talking the triple threat match for the World Heavyweight Championship with Rey Mysterio against Randy Orton against Kurt Angle. Once again, that Chicago crowd took over, and for some reason they just weren't really it was weird because they were into Mysterio, but I feel like the other half of the crowd wasn't into Mysterio, not so much because of Mysterio, just because they wanted to be anti-fuck everything and was cheering hard for Kurt Angle in this matchup.
I think after WrestleMania 20, and I think really the Goldberg and Brock Lesnar match was the catalyst for this. And with the advent of more internet message boards and things of that sort, and with the downfall of WCW, there was this kind of rumbling online of being tired of what WWE is giving us. And unfortunately, a lot of people in live wrestling crowds are going to adamantly go against whatever the company wants, even though it's probably the thing that makes sense, especially for this with the passing of Eddie Guerrero and Ray winning the Rumble. It made sense. It makes sense for Ray to win. It's the feel-good moment of the year. And it honestly should have went on freaking last. I don't care about John Cena versus Triple H. But that's whenever you see a lot of these larger market crowds really turn against it. And like you guys said, you go to Chicago. Chicago's a different beast of a wrestling crowd, just like when I went to AEW Dynamite in El Paso. All these towns are so different, and especially depending on where you're at, depending on what you're trying to present to people, they may not be into it and they might hijack the show for either really dumb reasons, like a what chance situation, just to be annoying, or to actually say hey, we don't like, John Cena versus Triple H for the WWE Championship as the main event. We want to see Ray close out the show.
Yeah.
I think, extremely touched on it too. There is, and we talked about this a little bit ourselves, that there is that part of the audience who felt that, they're only giving it to Ray because Eddie passed. And, truth be told, there's an argument to be made there. But at the same time, if anybody deserved it, it's Rey Mysterio. But, there's always going to be that segment of the crowd that's going to have to be the contrarian and go, well, I don't want this because they're only giving it to him because Eddie died.
And I think for the people who have that argument, you can agree or disagree. The one thing I will say this. If Eddie had lived, would Rey Mysterio ever have won a WWE or World Heavyweight Championship? Hell yeah, he would have. He would have had multiple runs like he has had.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt about that in my mind. So,
and I think a lot of people forget that too. I think a lot of people forget that Ray is not a one-time world champion. He's a two-time world champion and a one-time WWE champion. So, he won it multiple times. So I don't think that there's any doubt that it would have happened eventually.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off of that too, Rey Mysterio at this point, I mean, in my opinion, mind you, I live more in a Hispanic community, but Rey Mysterio is as big as John Cena, as Hulk Hogan, as anyone, because if you if I go up to anyone on the street and I say, hey, name one wrestler who wears the mask, they're going to say Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
And not just because he's the dude who wears the mask. He has worked in multiple companies for multiple decades. He's had so long of a career to where we're probably going to see him versus his own son at WrestleMania. Now, if you were to go back in time to the classic Rey versus Eddie custody battle for Dominic, and if I were to sit there and tell you, like, hey, by the way, Rey's possible last match in WWE ever is going to be him versus his son, you would think that that's insane because that seems so far away. But he's had that longevity, and to discount his world title win like that just because Eddie died, it's like, yeah, sure, you can make that argument, but also at the same time, like, he well earned it at that point.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we have not seen Lucha B-roll in a while.
I think he's on vacation in Tijuana.
Honestly,
or something.
I may have to go check. I may have to check on him, make sure he has enough food and water and everything.
See, but JCP brought up a good point I want to touch on. We were talking about Sean before. A lot of people, but some people may know this, some not. But they actually going into this Mania, originally the plan was, how about this matchup? Shawn Michaels versus Eddie Guerrero was supposed to be the original matchup if Eddie didn't pass. My God, that would have been incredible.
All the stars.
That's a match that I really wish that we could have seen. I mean, two of my absolute all-time favorites. I really would have loved to have seen that, especially on a WrestleMania stage.
Yeah, that would have been. Yeah, that's one we would have been talking of. Like we were talking about Angle and my God, could you imagine that Angle, Shawn, WrestleMania 21, WrestleMania 22, like freaking Shawn and Eddie? Holy shit, man! That's just I just get goosebumps thinking about that. But. But there's some other good matches and some moments we got to mention on this card as well. And I am going to go on record and say this. And some people may agree, some people may disagree. In my opinion, this WrestleMania has, from like in-ring and storyline telling, this WrestleMania has the best women's match of any WrestleMania I've seen. And I'm talking about Mickie James versus Trish Stratus for the Women's Championship at WrestleMania 22. Holy shit. Even they only had a little amount of time, too. I think maybe 10 minutes or something. The fuck, they told a good story in that amount of time. Like, and you're talking about two of the all-time greats. This match just head and shoulders above, especially in this era. Oh, my God. This match is like fucking Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart in the Iron Man match for the women's division compared to the other shit they was putting out. Because, hey, we're talking on the same WrestleMania where there was a pillow fight between Tori Wilson and Candice Michelle. So we're not completely out of the woods, but this was definitely a step in the right direction. What do you guys remember about this matchup?
So another two of my all-time favorites, if we're talking about women, Trish is number 2 for me and Mickie is number 3. And like you said, great match, but the storyline leading up to it, all the stalker stuff, Mickie just pulled off that crazy stalker gimmick so well. She did it very believably. So yeah, I agree. One of the best build-ups to a women's match in WrestleMania history.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And also, I know WWE likes to brand like the early 2000s era of like NXT and WWE when the Four Horsewomen finally like got called to the main roster. It's like, oh, this is the women's revolution. But I would argue that this time frame within wrestling really had that women's revolution, but they didn't have the branding on it, I guess. Mickie James is one of my favorite female wrestlers of all time. And then you had what was happening in TNA with women tearing up the roster there. And like you guys said, like there's a freaking pillow fight on here, which is, I think finally this shows that small momentum of like, we need to give women's wrestling more of a spotlight and an actual chance.
Yeah.
And we would still be a long way from getting there, but it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's like what you're seeing like right here is like the beginning of the foundation is being built for that revolution.
Yeah, you got Trish, you got Mickie, you got Victoria, all fighting to keep actual wrestling in the women's division.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, let's run down the rest of the WrestleMania 22 card here. So in your opening matchup, you had the Tag Team Championship on the line with the Big Show and Kane against Carlito and Chris Masters. Okay, whatever. I mean, actually, it's an okay matchup, but it's just like very forgettable.
It's there.
It's
It's there.
And then, how about this? The second ever Money in the Bank ladder match. And the biggest thing I remember from this Money in the Bank matchup was, oh my God, they're going to kill Ric Flair. Why the fuck is he getting superplexed off a ladder at this age? Holy shit.
Why is he still wrestling now? That's a better question.
Yeah, Rick would take that bump right fucking now, Xlj.
He would.
He'd take it right now.
Yeah, I mean, thank goodness for his family, or he would be out there taking that bump right now.
Yeah, but Rob Van Dam would end up winning the Money in the Bank. How about this matchup for the United States champion, extremely other favorite wrestler outside of Jeff Jarrett, JBL, defeating Chris Benoit for the U.S. title.
I would assault this man in the streets if I could.
I have zero recollection of that match. Zero.
Yeah, I thought this was a misprint because I have like the Wikipedia article, and I was like, wait, okay, I remember Rob Van Dam. Yeah. I remember Edge. I remember the other ones. I oddly remember the Boogeyman.
Yeah, that's sad.
I don't remember this.
The classic Boogeyman matchup. What's up, Dad? How you doing, brother?
And I'm just saying, you better be glad I don't have the Boogeyman video queued up anymore.
Can we also just mention, this RVD winning the Money in the Bank here, leading to, one of the best Money in the Bank cash-ins ever.
That's true.
I honestly think Rob Van Dam winning is one of the best winners of all time, leading to one of my favorite matches of all time. And the moment where I saw it, I'm just like, in the back of my mind, I'm just, he's the whole effing show. And honestly, if I were to, there you go. And honestly, if maybe he didn't have such a propensity for vegetables, the world of wrestling might be a little bit different. That's all I'm saying.
Hey man, what are you trying to say?
I'm saying,
Rob, get the hell off the damn screen.
I'm saying you like the devil's lettuce a little bit too much there, Rob.
I'm saying if you just learn to buy a jar.
At this time, you'd get away with it now.
Yeah, it'd be fine now if you just buy a jar and spell proof it. You would have been. There's so many possibilities that could have happened.
Screw you guys! I'm going home.
There you go. Well, hey, there's another match we really need to talk a little bit about here. Like Mick Foley finally getting his moment. How about Mick Foley against Edge in a no-holds-barred match? And a lot of people say this may be the best match on the entire card.
I would argue that this is the main event of the show. It's just not on last.
Yeah. And who'll ever forget like Edge spearing Foley through the flaming table, man? That was just, my God.
Yeah.
And boy, would that be hard to follow up. But boy, they would follow it up with another banger with the Boogeyman against Booker T and Queen Sharmell.
Goat match. This match is goated in the sauce. It's the sauce that the Boogeyman's worms are covered in.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, I thought, man, the Boogeyman is the coolest wrestler in the world. No one gets better than this. Under who? Taker what? No, absolutely. And then I look back at us as adults, and I'm like, oh, no, this isn't very good at all. Yeah. This is awful.
But in addition to all what we mentioned, of course, we got to talk about the streak continuing on as The Undertaker would take on Mark Henry in a casket match. Love Mark, love Taker. Not a bad match. It's just not like Undertaker would have so many better matches at WrestleMania.
It's mid for this era of The Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Right.
It's very underwhelming because he's coming off of like his match with Randy Orton, and then the one he has at like it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's a weird anime side story.
Yeah. But that segues into let's talk about our next WrestleMania. WrestleMania 23, going back to Detroit at Ford Field. And interestingly enough, before we move on here real quick, I will say this, with WrestleMania 22 would be the last WrestleMania held in a small arena. Because after that, they're just pretty much, fuck it, we got to go with the stadium. And, of course, Vince McMahon over-exaggerating the attendance. Tonight's attendance, 175,923.
Hey, can we start doing that with this? Like we could just be like, and most views in Learning the Ropes history, 1 billion.
1 billion. Yeah.
Can I just say, though, in all honesty, I'm planning to go to my first WrestleMania next year, and I am already anxiety-ridden about how the fuck am I getting out of here? There's just going to be so many people. I'm just going to sleep at the arena.
Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, I agree. I'm right there with you, my friend. It's going to be very intimidating. But
yeah,
this WrestleMania, this may be a hot take. I'm not a big fan of 23. There's a lot of people that love 23. I really don't like 23 outside the main event matches. But I don't know. One thing, I guess the reason I hated this Mania is going into it, the whole build-up, the whole fucking focus was like, Battle of the Billionaires, somebody's going to be shaved bald, with the Donald Trump versus Vince McMahon matchup.
I mean, so I guess the question is...
Oh, damn, Dad Hat. Touche. Yeah.
I guess the question is it that bad of a WrestleMania, or do we look back at it and we just have, the immediate, vomit in our throat feeling because Donald Trump is involved? Because, I'll be honest with you. I'm, not a Trump fan. But even in this era, I was not a fan of his. I thought he was a fucking idiot and didn't understand why he was famous or anything. And here he is on my wrestling show, just fucking ruining a bunch of time that somebody else could be taking.
If you take the 2 world championships and WWE title matches off this show, this is a shit show. I don't care what anybody says. And that's no disrespect to the competitors. There's just nothing else on this show that does anything for me.
It feels like a WrestleMania you make in 2K, but you just put your universe mode on auto for a year, because it's like, I forgot Ric Flair and Carlito were a tag team.
Oh, yeah, that was on the pre-show against Gregory Helms and Chavo Guerrero.
Yeah. And then, like, outside of the 2 world titles, like, I'm looking at the match card here, and nothing here is really inspiring for what's supposed to be the hugest show of the year. It doesn't do it for me. I hate to remind myself that a certain orange man is on the is a WrestleMania Hall of Famer, and I tend to try to forget that.
There's an orange woman on it too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But that matchup we're talking about was the Umaga against Bobby Lashley, and no disrespect to those guys because those incredible competitors. But just the whole build up for that, it was just like, you knew Vince was gonna fucking lose because Donald Trump's not going to shave his head. And
also, we talk crap about how Vince took a stunner on Mania this past year. Can we see how Trump takes a stunner? Oh my God. It's like watching a balsa wood plane disintegrate into a tree. Like,
yeah, that's a very accurate description, actually. Yeah, well, that's okay. Trump got Umaga the spotlight he deserved, though. Well, yeah, but I mean, still, though, it's I don't know. Umaga would have got there one way or the other anyway. So,
does Vince have no other rich friends who would like to be a part of this? Mr. T is rich. Just say he's a billionaire. I'm sure there were also 100,000 people in the stadium. I'm sure we can lie. This is wrestling. It's fine.
There you go. It's like watching a water bottle melt in the microwave.
Yeah, exactly.
that's a good way.
Demonstration.
Summing this WrestleMania. I have to say this though, the main event, and it shouldn't surprise me, but the main event shocked the shit out of me. I was going in Shawn Michaels versus John Cena. I was just like, I don't really give a shit. Damn, though, they put on a hell of a matchup though, and I think that's why that match is so enjoyable. Is because I think going into it, everybody was kind of just like, whatever. But Shawn being Shawn has a hell of a matchup. And remember, originally Triple H was supposed to be in this spot before he got injured. So Shawn versus Cena, a great matchup. You can't deny that.
Yeah, I am not a big Cena fan. Never have been. But I'm not going to say that. They used to call him Big Match John for a reason. When it came to big matches like this, especially on events, he pulled it out, and he's got the perfect dance partner here, especially when it comes to WrestleMania. So, yeah, absolutely. It was a great match. Again, not a Cena fan, but I enjoyed it. Other than, Sean losing, but
You know.
Yeah, no. So the other world title matchup, which is another great matchup too, The Undertaker against Batista. And, a classic matchup of big meaty men slapping big meaty men. But this matchup actually is a pretty good matchup. Definitely Taker's better one in the past couple years, and that's no disrespect to Orton or Mark Henry, but I thought the matchup was pretty decent. What do you guys remember about this?
I think this rivalry, it's one of my first ones that I remember being invested in as a fan. And I think because like you just said, it's big meaty men slapping meat. Like that tends to be the WWE MO. But also there's an importance to that. With size, you have to have in-ring storytelling and mobility. And this is back when Taker was older, but he could still very much go in the ring and have a very competitive physical match, and especially with somebody like Batista. Like his nickname's the Animal for a reason. He's a genetic freak. No copyright infringement there from a certain Steiner brother. But it's one of those things where you look and it's like, this is what you're trying to do with like Omos and the Great Khali, but they can't move like this.
Wait a minute, though.
Yeah.
And
XLJ.
Oh,
Why did you tell me his nickname was the Animal?
because it's Big Dick Dave. Oh!
Big Dave!
Damn! And if you don't believe us, folks, you could always Wikipedia that shit. Because everybody gets one. Although I don't think it's on Wikipedia, more like Dickopedia. But anyways.
I would go so far as to say that this is one of Batista's best matches ever.
Yeah, that's Hambone. That's a good point. I think you're right. I can't think of anything. I did enjoy the matches he had with Hunter, but I agree. I do think this is one of his better matches. I think the feud with Hunter, feud with Taker, and the feud with Edge was like his best work.
Yeah, Batista was always best when he was against somebody who was better than himself. Because Batista wasn't that great of a wrestler, let's be honest. But when he's against somebody like The Undertaker or Triple H, they could definitely bring one out of him. So I'd go so far as to say this is one of his best matches.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. So let's run down the rest of this WrestleMania 23 card. We've got your Money in the Bank match, which just kind of, at this point, I felt like it kind of just turns into a clusterfuck of let's get as many people in there as possible. You have 8 involved, but you have Mr. Snap It To It Kennedy. Enjoy that Slim Jim brother. Kennedy wins your Money in the Bank ladder matchup. That also involved Edge.
One of the most disappointing wins.
Yeah.
For what happened.
Because of what happened, yeah. If it would have been nice to have seen him get a world title run, but it is what it is. So, and there he is. So, and then of course, how about this classic matchup, which I know made your list as well, Extreme League, the Great Khali against Kane. Yikes!
I didn't even feel the need to record audio for it. I literally just put it in a text-to-speech thing and just. I'm not even gonna take my time. It's so plotting and boring, and to watch the Great Khali kick out of a pin hurts me to watch.
Yeah,
it feels uncomfortable. I feel like I need to erase it from time.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. Also on this card, your United States Championship was online with MVP going against Chris Benoit. Would be Benoit's last Mania for obvious reasons, but it is what it is. Also, too, one thing about this WrestleMania is you did see. I never thought in my fucking lifetime I would say the Sandman competes at a WrestleMania, but gosh darn it, it happened on this one, folks. As you had the ECW originals of Rob Van Dam, Sabu, the Sandman, and Tommy Dreamer go up against the New Breed. And I know what you're saying at home. Who the fuck is the New Breed? Well, it was Elijah Burke, Marquise Corfon, a.k.a. Monty Brown for you TNA fans, Matt Stryker, and Kevin Thorne. Yeah, at least the ECW guys got on the card, so there was that.
What a fall from grace in a year for RVD.
No kidding, right?
And it's so weird to look at this list and go, oh, Rob Van Dam is the one who still wrestles sometimes.
Yeah, that is pretty wild when you think about it. But, hell, he just wrestled a show in one of our friends was at in Ohio over the weekend. So yeah.
Tommy Dreamer still wrestles too some.
Yeah, Dreamer still wrestles.
True.
So, yeah.
Okay.
But and of course, one other match we got to talk about. How about that classic Lumberjill matchup between Melina and Ashley? It happened.
It did.
Yep. It was booked.
It was booked.
It happened. It was there. We can move on.
That's right. And moving on.
Melina,
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Oh, we know where I'm going. He's not paying attention.
Oh, when we getting that video, buddy?
It is in the works. It will be filmed at some point this week.
All right, we're gonna hold you.
I'm just trying to figure out how the split is going to happen, and that is why I was looking off screen. I'm like, how am I gonna do that?
I would just make sure that you have somebody else with the phone in their hand ready to dial 911 for when it goes badly.
Yep.
But I, as somebody who is on that stream, I want at least an attempt.
That's
All right. For
And
you and for charity, I will make an attempt.
I believe. Have I seen a picture of Hambone doing the splits? I think I have.
I think,
Yeah.
there is a calendar. There is photogenic.
That's where the Daisy Dukes came from.
There you go.
That's right. He did say, I can't remember if I can't remember when we were talking about. We talked about it on the show, so everybody heard it. The Daisy Dukes are ordered, so it's happening. It's happening.
Yeah. So speaking of moving on, let's move on to our next WrestleMania, and let's talk about WrestleMania 24. And I got to start with you, Extremely, because I remember when we were talking about coming on, you were super stoked about talking about this WrestleMania. Am I right?
Listen, I don't have very many strong opinions in wrestling outside of hating Jeff Jarrett,
JBL,
and hating a few other people.
So much Jeff Jarrett slander.
But I will say, for the sense of love, I absolutely love WrestleMania 24. It is not a perfect show, but it's a damn good show. It's my first Mania that I ever got to order on pay-per-view as a child, and I will die for this pay-per-view.
Yeah, there's a lot of memorable moments on this Mania. There's some bad stuff too, but there's a lot of memorable moments, and I think the first one we got to talk about, the matchup, with one of the most iconic finishes and iconic images, not only in WrestleMania history but professional wrestling ever. I'm sorry, I love you, Shawn Michaels retiring Ric Flair. What should have been Ric Flair's retirement, damn it, but it is what it is.
Not me watching that, having daddy issues and crying a little bit. It's fine.
Right? Yeah.
It's fine.
I mean, the fact that it was chosen for Shawn to be his last matchup, man. I mean, and could you imagine having that massive amount of an order put on you? It's like you're gonna have the last matchup with the greatest professional wrestler of all time, or arguably who people say is the greatest professional wrestler of all time, Ric Flair. But if anybody could do it, it was gonna be Shawn Michaels, and fuck, did they deliver on this one? Because I mean, Flair could still go, but it wasn't quite like the Flair of yesteryears, and he'll be the first one to tell you that.
Yeah.
This was a good
not
match.
only arguably, the best wrestler of all time, but also, just somebody who is a very, very good friend of yours who you want to be able to, send out on a high note. You don't want to go out there and have his last match be something that people remember as bad. So, just the added pressure of that for Shawn as well,
Yeah. And I mean, I can even say as a new fan, seeing that clip, it still hits you right in the feels.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't matter how many times you see it. It doesn't matter what your thoughts are on HBK or your opinions are on Ric Flair as a fan. Still hit you right in the feels, man.
Yeah, the story's there.
It's a perfect example of a time where real life was worked into wrestling, and it just so happens to be that a lot of times when that happens, that makes for the best wrestling, when because we get emotionally connected to it, and when we can get emotionally connected to it, that makes for the best matches.
Professional wrestling is at its best when the lines between reality and fantasy are blurred.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting to see it too, because like through the build to this match, Sean's very reluctant to take the match. He's like, well, no, I don't want to face you at WrestleMania, because it's like we all know what's going to happen. And Rick goats him into the match by just saying like, no, you know what? If you beat me, you beat me. If I'm going down, I'm gonna go down like looking up at the lights. It's a very like honorable fighter's mentality of like, if I'm gonna lose, I want to lose my way.
Yeah, it's that classic gunslinger versus gunslinger, that final showdown there at the OK Corral, man. Yeah, that matchup, that story, especially the ending too. My God, just if you was to have me like, okay, I need to sum up WrestleMania and its magnitude in like 60 seconds or less and show clips, I'm showing that clip.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. That's it. That's in the montage for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I think everybody agree this Mania is definitely that's what it's most well known for. But we also got to talk about another. How about the main event? Which I was so happy this actually ended up going on last, because I felt like if it wasn't going to be Michaels versus Flair, it should be this matchup. The World Heavyweight Championship with Edge defending against The Undertaker. And an interesting story going into this one. This Vince had actually like kind of presented to The Undertaker that Edge would be the guy to end the streak. And that's kind of was the plan, but Edge straight up said, no, I am not going to be that guy. I'm not going to end the streak. I respect it too much. I mean, that just goes to show you the type of person Edge is, in my opinion.
Yeah. I just heard that story myself, and, at the end of the day, I would have rather it have been Edge over what we got. But, I love that Edge realized probably, like a lot of, probably, the fan side of him realized what the streak meant to us as fans at that point, not, just to WrestleMania, but to wrestling as a whole. I'm still of the belief that it never should have been broken myself, and I think a lot of people feel that way. But it's very cool to know that Edge realized that himself as a fan and realized what it meant to us as fans as well.
Yeah.
And if you look at it too, it's kind of the real world equivalent of what was happening with Shawn and Flair on the kayfabe side of things, right? It's like it's showing that respect of like, hey, you helped build this event. So for Shawn, it's almost the inverse of what Edge is going through. Edge is like, no, I need to lose because I'm not the right person to end this like historical thing that's been at this event for, at this point, I think, what was his record, like 14-0, 15-0, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. In that ballpark, and that is going to be such a big moment that people are going to be talking about. And also, to be fair, I think Edge maybe dodged a bullet, because you're right, Hambone. Should it have ever ended?
Yeah,
I think the argument is fair that it doesn't. And also, I mean, did Brock go into business for himself? But that's a different conversation.
That's a whole another conversation.
And we're going to have that conversation here in a little bit, too.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of points, really, if you think about it. If we're talking like, what if Edge had done it? What if he had? Would he have gotten the hate that Brock Lesnar did? Because, among wrestling fans, Edge is probably more respected and well-liked than Brock. But not only that, at that point, while the streak was a thing, it wasn't what it was by the time Brock had broken it.
Yeah, that's the thing, because, like, I mean, it's, because you're talking about at least 6 more wins or something like that before it got broken. So I think it had to, as big as it was, it still needed more for it to be that utterly shocking moment. Like I said, we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit as well. But let's talk about the rest of our WrestleMania 24 card here. Another big matchup that was being advertised, because Vince McMahon loves his celebrities. Let's talk about Floyd Money Mayweather going up against the Big Show. Why? Why was this a match?
Hey,
big guy, small guy.
Listen,
Money.
he
That's
can't
good shit,
read,
man.
but he can work a damn good match. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. It is what it is, folks. I mean, it
Just
could
takes
have
that
It's
been
one
better.
fair.
Could have been worse.
It's better than
That's not the
Snooki.
power.
You went there. I was gonna say something along those lines, and yeah, that's another one we're gonna be talking about.
Honestly, the most interesting part about that feud was, Mayweather legitimately breaking Big Show's nose.
And how
a
Big
couple
Show
weeks
turned into
beforehand.
like a fucking Olympic
Yeah.
splinter and almost killed him. So yeah, another big matchup on this show. The WWE Championship was on the line in a triple threat match with Randy Orton to get defended against Triple H and John Cena. This is kind of one of those, you get this every now and then with the Mania, a WWE or world title matchup. It's just like, it's there. It's on the card. And that's kind of how I feel about this
Yeah.
one. It's not a bad match. It's not a great match. It's just a match. It's there.
Yeah.
So, the rest of the card, you had JBL against Finlay in a Belfast brawl. Money in the Bank ladder match that CM Punk would win. Kind of really the first real
Hell
big
yeah.
moment for CM Punk, if you think about it. Which I was really surprised he won this, because I kind of thought, well, if you guys remember, if you were watching it at the time frame, Jeff Hardy was supposed to be in this matchup, but I'm going to give you one guess on why he wasn't in this matchup. So, yep.
He was at
So I
church.
think
He was at church praising the Lord.
Yes, hallelujah. But I think with Jeff, like, if Jeff had won it versus Punk had won it, I don't know. Like, I don't know, because like this was an okay match, and it was good to see like Punk get it, but just I don't know, his first world title run in WWE just kind of, it didn't really do it for me, and I think a lot of fans would agree with that. But hey, that's another story for another time. Battle for brand supremacy, because damn it, we got to have that on the show. How about Batista from SmackDown going up against Raw's Umaga? This is another matchup. It's there. It's on the card. A lot of people forget about it, and rightfully so. Speaking of forgetful, how about the ECW Championship matchup between Chavo Guerrero and Kane, where Kane won it in 11 seconds? Because remember, on the pre-show, Kane had won a battle royal to earn the right to face Chavo. So, yeah.
So, actually, fun fact about this match, it is the shortest WrestleMania Championship match ever.
Oh, yeah. I could see that. Yeah. I guess it is the shortest championship. I think the shortest is actually still SD Jones and King Kong Bundy from one. But, yeah, you're right. It is the shortest championship matchup. And another barn burner of a matchup, because, damn it, we got to get the girls in this show. Let's do another Lumberjill match so we can maximize and get all the divas on the show. Beth Phoenix and Melina against Maria and Ashley.
Let's not forget, it's not only just a Lumberjill match, it is a Playboy Bunny Mania.
Yes,
Lumberjill match.
Dog, and yeah, Kim Kardashian was there, but we don't talk about that. Yeah, just
I forgot she was there, and this is my favorite Mania of all time. And I went back to watch it, and I was like, oh, Kim K's just here.
she's just here.
I guess.
Just chilling.
And you can tell too, she like doesn't know like anything about what she's fucking doing at all. It's like, what's this? What's wrestling? But anyways, hey. All right, gentlemen. Are you ready to talk about WrestleMania 25? Oh, wait a minute. Before we get to that, Dad Hat, hot take. I never saw the appeal of the Umaga character, and I don't think he deserved. Wow. I love you, Dad Hat, but I gotta disagree with you. I love just his in-ring work. I always loved his facial expressions too. I thought the Umaga character, even though he was around for a short period of time, I was a big fan of.
But it just goes to show you as well, there's something for everyone.
Yeah, that's a good point. But let's talk
I mean,
about
I'll
it.
be honest. I wasn't a big fan of the character itself because even at that point, I feel like that character is a little tone deaf. But that kind of shit didn't matter to Vince McMahon yet. But
Yeah.
I do believe him to be one of the better big men that have ever competed.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this with the gimmick he was given, he made it work, and I think he made it work really good.
Yeah.
So. All right, WrestleMania 25 from Texas.
The
Okay.
25th anniversary.
25th anniversary. Go big or go home, right? All right, here's going to be a hot take, I think. I think this is one of the worst WrestleManias, with the exception of the great. It's weird because this is one of the worst WrestleManias,
best
but
WrestleMania
it's like
match
the
of all
best
time.
WrestleMania match on all time. Like, what the fuck? Like, how is that? How does that happen?
It's very much like a more recent WrestleMania 13. We remember it for Shawn and Austin. I mean, Brett and Austin, and that's pretty much it.
Folks, let's get right into it. Let's talk about it. Shawn Michaels against The Undertaker, WrestleMania 25. And what I think is so important about this, as great as the streak was, and as great of a character as The Undertaker was, I think this kicks off for The Undertaker. The next 4 Manias are the definitive Undertaker matches of his WrestleMania run, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely, yeah.
This
Yeah, no
matchup,
doubt about
holy
it.
shit. And I can remember going into it, okay, the darkness versus the light thing. Okay, I get it. Whatever. I just, it's like going into it, it's like, well, it's going to be a good matchup because it's Shawn and Taker. But man, oh man, I was not expecting the greatness out of this freaking classic.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. You are our guest. I will let you go ahead.
So, I mean, Shawn's my all-time favorite. Undertaker is right behind that. So I feel the same way as you, Xlj, where I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a great match. But I did not think that it was going to be as good as it was. I mean, it's again one of the best matches I've ever seen in my life. And not only, like you said, does this kick off like the real couple matches for Undertaker, but I feel like this is when we as fans, a lot of us really started to realize how good of a wrestler The Undertaker was. There had been a lot of years where, he had gotten away from like the original Undertaker character, and he could, show what he could do in the ring. But I think this was really the kickoff of, oh shit, an Undertaker match means that we're going to get, an absolute, match of the night candidate.
Yeah. And I was just gonna say I can remember this match very well. This was on Xlj, if you remember the time I came over.
I remember.
And I went
first
live. I went live on TikTok for the first time, and you would put together like our own.
We had like 10
pay-per-view.
matches we were watching, and this was on the list. Funny enough, that's the first time I ever met Dad Hat too. So and we bonded over this matchup. So there you go, man.
Yeah.
But man, this matchup is so fucking good. And we see it nowadays with like, and I'm not trying to name names here or anything, but with a multitude of false finishes, you can get by with that. Sometimes it's redundant, but in this matchup, it was perfect because when Taker hits the tombstone, that's it.
Yeah.
It's game over. And when Shawn kicks out, I'll never forget the look on Undertaker's face of just disbelief, like, what the fuck just happened? Like, how did he kick out?
It's the match that has one of the best, not only the best placed, but the best timed false finishes of all time, period. Where you thought it was over. Absolutely no way that this match is continuing, and he kicks out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, there's not enough we can say about this matchup.
No.
I mean, if honestly, if this matchup isn't on this card, I would say you're probably talking this is one of the worst WrestleManias of all time.
Yeah.
Just saying.
This is one of those matches that if you're trying to get somebody who's not into wrestling, you show them this match.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more with you, man. But let's talk about the main event of this show, which shouldn't have been the main event because anything following Taker and Shawn was fucked to begin with.
Yeah. Yep.
But the Triple H versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship, and like the big build being like, Randy Orton had violated like the McMahon family and all this shit. Triple H was fighting for the honor of the McMahon family. With all due respect, who gives a fuck? It's the McMahon family.
I was going to say, what honor? Sir, this is a Wendy's.
I mean, seriously, like, that's the best you can do here? Fuck, man. It's like, yeah.
I think it's also just, it's really hard after, the couple years that Triple H had before this to present him as, the sympathetic babyface. It just didn't really work.
Yeah.
And as every good guy should, he breaks into his adversary's home and threatens his wife with a sledgehammer, as a good guy does.
Yeah.
I mean,
Superman did it. Batman's done it. You just break into somebody's house and get arrested. Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But that wasn't the only classic championship matchup on this card. How about that triple threat for the World Heavyweight Championship between Edge, The Big Show, and John Cena?
Yeah.
And the storyline being Vicky Guerrero, the general manager of SmackDown, was having an affair on Edge with The Big Show. And I love Vicky and all, but yikes. Fuck this storyline. Especially for a WrestleMania match.
And John's there for a reason. I mean, I get it. Big match John. Sure, whatever. Why was he there? Like, can you give me an extra reason why John Cena was there?
To win the match.
Yeah, essentially.
The only thing that this match literally is remembered for is that double FU.
Yeah, the double FU.
Other than that, that's literally, like you said, literally the only reason this match is happening is to give John Cena a win over two big names at a WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And we also now know that John Cena knows the Shadow Clone Jutsu.
Yes, there you go. Hey, I do want to talk about a moment on this show that I absolutely marked the fuck out of, and I will say it goes underrated because, like, the build-up and the stuff, it was kind of hard to watch, but it surprised me. Hear me out on this one, folks. Chris Jericho going 1-on-1, or maybe I guess I should say 3-on-1 against the Legends, the team of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, and Roddy Piper. So, okay, originally, if you were watching WWE at the time, this was actually supposed to be Chris Jericho against Mickey Rourke, because this was at the height of Mickey Rourke had done the Wrestler movie, and this was kind of capitalized on that. But Mickey Rourke was up for the Oscar, and like I think his publicist or whatever felt like it'd be a bad idea if he wrestled, which is fucking weird because like the movie is about him wrestling, but whatever. So thus we got this matchup. Now, once again, like some people in there who really have no reason being in there, like Snuka, like that's another story for another time. Fuck Jimmy Snuka, there I said it. The Roddy Piper at this point, I love Piper, but really he shouldn't have been there. But holy shit, who actually thought Ricky Steamboat was going to do half the shit he did in this matchup? I marked the fuck out because like Steamboat hadn't wrestled in like 20 plus years. My God, yeah, the Dragon tore it the fuck up. Like him doing his old shit, like doing like arm drags, jumping off the top rope, slingshot over the top rope. I mean, yeah, it didn't look as crisp as in his heyday, but still, at 60 years old or however old he was at the time doing this, holy shit. And you actually ended up getting a one-on-one matchup between Jericho and Steamboat at the next month's pay-per-view Backlash.
They really should have, I mean, if they were gifted with the gift of hindsight, they really should have just made it Steamboat and Jericho at Mania. That would have been fantastic. Why is a known murderer and Roddy Piper here? No idea. But if you just did these two, I think you would have had probably a dark horse contender for like top 10 Mania matches.
Yeah, I think so. I think the concern probably was like, I don't think Steamboat knew actually what he was capable of, but it just goes to show you folks, when you're out there and that adrenaline hits you, man, and like Father Time turns back the hands and you got that awesome moment with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Adrenaline in my soul.
Something, Cody Rhodes. Sorry.
I think, outside of obviously Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, this is another match that it kind of shows what this WrestleMania was about, which was it was a WrestleMania of moments. Because, hardcore wrestling fans like us, sure, we remember, Jericho and Steamboat, facing off and all that. But in the grand scheme of things that most people are remembering about this is Mickey Rourke just getting in and knocking Chris Jericho out. It's another match that was just about a moment, really.
Agreed. Let's run down the rest of this card. CM Punk would win his second Money in the Bank ladder match, which opened off the show. Damn it. Do we got to talk about this one? And I can't remember if this was on your worst list, but I'm talking about the fucking Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal. Was that on your list? I don't think it was.
Yes, it was.
It was. Okay.
Because the Vince McMahon school of thinking is, there's an important match for women. Have a man win it.
Fuck me.
Just have a man win it. A man in drag, no doubt. Also, listen, I don't mind Kid Rock's music. Kid Rock is the person I feel like I need to have a hydrogen peroxide bath with my eyeballs in order to finally get clean. He looks like what a Waffle House smells like, and not in the good way.
Ball
you
with
don't
the ball to
mind
bang
Kid
the bang
Rock's
diddy
music?
Kid Rock's music is fine. It's okay.
Have you heard some of his music now?
Hey, listen. I like American Badass. Don't tell me how to live. It doesn't exist in my mind because ain't nobody gonna tell me how to live, Hambone.
I'm gonna say this. It may be controversial. The rest of his library fucking terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But damn it, Devil Without a Cause, like that first album.
Yeah.
That's a good fucking album. I don't care.
Listen, he's got that, and he's got that duet with Sheryl Crow, and that's it. He's got that one CD and that fucking picture song. That's all he's got.
Yeah. Well,
God damn it.
Let's put this WrestleMania away. See what I did there? And talk about.
Do we have to?
I know. There also was the brother versus brother matchup, Matt versus Jeff Hardy, which I really didn't care for. I thought very forgettable. And the matchup for the the Intercontinental Championship with Rey Mysterio against JBL, and what would be JBL's last matchup.
One of the shortest WrestleMania matches as well, 21 seconds.
Yep.
Good. Listen. I get it. I get why JBL took the belt off of Eddie. I get that. Whatever. I think JBL should have never held the world title, mainly because I hate the man, because I don't tolerate bullies and assholes. But I will say this. This match is great. I love watching it. I watch it on repeat if I have a bad day. Ray has some actually pretty sweet Joker gear for the entire match, and I just love seeing a white racist just lose everything and rage quit. I take a lot of pleasure in his loss.
Wait just a damn minute. That's my tag team partner you're talking about. Okay?
Yeah, I was good. JBL's
Rob,
he's
buddy, I like you.
Well, I know you like me.
You're cool.
Yeah, I'm cool, all right. I'm on that side, Extreme League, but you better not say anything else bad about JBL.
Damn,
okay.
right.
JBL's a weird case of a man, because on the surface, he very much does come off like he's probably a racist bully. And then on the other hand, Farouk is as close as a brother to him, and he raises a ton of money for, starving children in other countries. So it's like, I don't understand this man. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get him.
I think, I mean, and I know you can probably attest to this too, Hambone. I've met JBL before, and I mean, he's a pretty nice guy from the interactions I have with him.
I'm laughing because of the look on Extremely's face. He's like
no.
Listen, I'll be honest with you. My first, the first wrestlers I ever met were at the same event. It was Lita and then the APA. And the APA crushed my little 14-year-old heart because they would, I went over to them and they signed it. They didn't even look up at me, didn't say hello to me, nothing. They were just having a conversation among themselves and didn't even acknowledge me.
Wait a minute. Was that in Utica? I think I recognize you now, boy. I'm sorry. It was a different time then.
But I did meet them again as an adult and had a completely different experience. So,
Oh, well, there you go.
I will say this: JBL's good at his job because I hate him, and I hate him more than Jeff Jarrett, believe it or not. But yeah, maybe I'm supposed to hate him this much, and if so, congrats, Jonathan. Congrats. Congrats, Jonathan Layfield. You've won. I've been worked.
But bro, he's a wrestling god. Oh, and on that note, let's fast forward 1 year later to WrestleMania 26. This is another Mania where it's like, I kind of want to like it, but it's just, I don't know. How do I say this politely? There's a lot of shit on this show. I mean, it's just, okay, first
another great Shawn Michaels match, though.
I was going to say, let's talk about that. The last great Shawn Michaels matchup as we get The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels in the rematch
the last match he ever
year.
had.
And it's the last match he ever had. And no, damn it,
That's
we're
right.
not talking about the dirty
That's right.
Saudi money he took in that god-awful tag team match. We're not talking about that. But this would be Shawn's last matchup as it was career versus streak. Let me ask you guys this. Going into this, did you honestly think Shawn was going to win it?
No.
Same here.
I mean, I was hoping the other way, obviously, because Shawn being my all-time favorite, I didn't want him to be done, and I thought that he still had it in him to go a couple more years and still have great matches, especially after, what had happened in the last year. But did I think that that's the way it was going to go? No, I was pretty sure that this was the end for him.
And I'll say this: I'm a bit of a contrarian here. This is my preferred Taker and Shawn match. Don't get me wrong; I love 25, but for me and the story of Shawn Michaels and the build is just beautiful. Like whenever I was on with you guys for the Royal Rumble, like his elimination is one of my favorites because it's so purposeful yet so incidental to where Batista just slaps his hand as he's hanging onto the rope, and that's enough to send him back. And he just loses it and becomes hell-bent on beating The Undertaker. And he says, if I can't beat him, I have no career, period. And the build, the cover of running up that hill, oh my God.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, long before Stranger Things brought it back. Yeah, that, oh man, dude, chef's kiss.
And just the ending moments of the match where like Taker is picking up Shawn for like one last tombstone, and Shawn, I think he either spits in Taker's face or flips him off or does both of them. But it's such a contrast to his match with Flair. Like if you watch these two matches back to back, you see the story of two different men. Ric Flair kind of going out with more class and stuff like that. But Shawn, while he is Mr. WrestleMania and he has been the main guy for WWE for a majority of his career, his attitude and his rebelliousness is still like the biggest thing for him as a person, regardless of, him losing a smile and coming back. And just the way this wraps up his career to where it's like, he's a changed man, but he's still that guy. It's probably one of the best ways you can see a career end and somebody lose a big match.
Yeah.
And
I think that's
You can't say it better than that. I mean, that's so poetic, man.
Yeah, that's a great point too, Extreme League, because especially for somebody like me, who Shawn is my all-time favorite. I really, even though I became a fan of Shawn before, like D-Generation X and all that, I really became a fan of him during the whole Boyhood Dream storyline. But defiant, rebellious Shawn is what made me love professional wrestling and what made me love Shawn Michaels. So for him to go out with, even though he was a changed man at that point and we knew, his whole story and all that, just to get that little bit of that old Shawn Michaels right there at the end, I'm not going to just, lay down and take it. Just that little bit of defiant HBK again was a perfect way to end it for me.
Yeah. And this is gonna be what they call like an aside. Extremely, I'm gonna need you to do like a retrospective on Shawn Michaels. I think I'm going to need that in my life.
Ooh.
Bet.
Because it was
You're gonna have to
very
make a series out of that too. But
yeah,
that'd be
it
awesome.
was the way the verbiage and everything was. It was.
Oh, thank you. Stop it.
It was pretty darn good. It's fact you say very poetic.
But yeah, and I'm gonna give Xlj the Og his flowers too, for putting up with all this HBK praise, because we do all know that you are a hitman.
Oh, and now you're gonna really fucking stick it to me, because let's talk about that.
Let's talk about getting screwed.
That's what you call a transition right there.
I mean, who had the better match is all I'm saying.
I think we fucking know who had the better match on this one.
One of them's got Tyson Kidd.
Yeah, there's that. No, I mean, I will say this at this time frame, because I'm a diehard Brett enthusiast and I love Brett. Like, I was just stoked to see this match, just to see Bret Hart back in a ring. I knew it wasn't going to be a classic. I knew it wasn't going to be like anything spectacular. I was just enamored with the fact that this was something, and I think a lot of fans would agree, never in their wildest fucking dreams did you think you were going to see Bret Hart actually inside of a wrestling ring again, in a WWE ring, I should say. But just the whole him coming back. I mean, I got emotional the night he came back and they buried the hatchet with Shawn and stuff. I mean, and of course, they had to have this matchup. It just had to happen with the Vince McMahon character. It's just unfortunate when it happened. I'll say this: if this match had happened like 2 or 3 years after the screw job, holy shit, would have been a completely different matchup. But
printing money.
Yeah, but it is what it is. It's a god awful matchup, and I know it made your list of worst matches, and honestly, rightfully so. I love Brett, but this match is a shit show. It's literally
this match.
Oh, go ahead.
The match is like you said, it's not good, but I think what matters in this match is, like you said, it's a feel-good moment, because while it is not Brett at his best, as we know, it is Brett being able to go out on his own terms compared to, how his career had ended previously.
And if you do break down the matchup and watch it, it is literally just Bret Hart beating the fuck out of Vince McMahon for like 10 minutes. Like that chair afterwards, look at the chair after all the chair shots he got. Holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that was some receipts, years of receipts.
And hey, don't get me wrong. I'm fully of the belief that I think there's a school of thought, because there's a school of thought in film, and I think it's a little bit in wrestling too. You do one for them and you do one for you. And I think this is a match Brett needed. I feel like it's a match that he felt like he was owed, and I'm glad he got it. Don't get me wrong. And I love the build, the cartooniness of Brett breaking his leg, but turns out it's a swerve, and he has the cast on the table as Vince turns around. Like, I love that. I eat that up. Fun fact, Jake the Snake Roberts versus oh my god, I'm blanking on the name, but it's the blindfold match from one of
Rick Martel, Wrestlemania
versus Rick Martel. There's a reason why I didn't make my list, because the build was so dumb and corny that I just loved it too much to say no. It's like, yeah, the match isn't great, but the build is fantastic. But like, the list was for matches. I'm glad Brett got his thing. It's also weird for me to look at the logo to this, because like that Slim Jim logo is just like in the corner, but it's like the branding is so close that I feel like it's like Slim Jim WrestleMania, and I'm like,
oh yeah, what? This was sponsored by Slim. I forgot about that. Yeah, Hambone, you got another Slim Jim, buddy?
I do have a couple over there, actually, because I have like an actual Macho Man Slim Jim holder, like one of the ones they have at gas stations. So I buy Slim Jim just to put in it.
How much money can I give that to? How much? How much? Name your price.
You cannot have it, because I went through fucking hell to get it. Okay, I went to so many gas stations asking them to buy one. It's ridiculous. I saw them and I was like, I have to have that. I don't know what you want for it, but I'm going to pay for it.
It will be mine. Oh yes.
But also, before we move on from this match, I think that you, XOJ, will agree with this as well. Fuck Goldberg.
Oh Jesus, that's enough. Yeah, fuck Goldberg.
Fuck Goldberg.
Fuck Goldberg. He's up
That's
on
right.
that list.
So
Let's make a shirt. Fuck
Yep.
Vince McMahon. Fuck Hulk Hogan, and fuck Goldberg.
So here's what I was thinking. We would just make a shirt and it says "fuck," and then we have like a
And
dry
there's
erase.
just like a bullet point list.
There you go. There you go.
I was thinking maybe we could
Fuck
do like
Jimmy Snuka. Yeah.
dry erase and just
Yeah,
write them all
yeah.
down.
It's the first ever interactive wrestling T-shirt. You can just
Yeah.
wipe it off. Whoever you
Maybe-
piss that day on wrestling
Yeah.
Twitter. There you go.
Maybe just put like a piece of Velcro on it, and then you can also sell in addition names that you can buy to constantly put on and take off.
It's a
Yeah.
money
Oh,
maker right
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That
the old printer ink little marketing plan there. I see what you mean.
Getting
This is why
thinking,
he's the drip
thinking.
god, folks.
Well, hey, let's talk about the other quote unquote like main event matchups on this card, because you did have 2 world title matches. And it's weird because one of them on paper, you're like, oh, that's a classic WrestleMania matchup right there. But I just didn't really give a shit. And I'm talking the WWE Championship between John Cena and Batista. It's just like, on paper, you would think like, oh my gosh, here you have these 2 guys who had their biggest moments at WrestleMania 21. And now we are full circle 5 years later, both the biggest, arguably the biggest faces in the company, and they're meeting at Mania. But I don't know. It just, for whatever reason, it just kind of fell by the wayside going into that matchup.
They've had better.
Yeah, they have.
That's the main thing, is that they've had better matches together, and this isn't one of them.
No. And I quit.
Yeah. And I think that this is, again, it's another main event that is outshined by a match that went on before it.
Yeah.
We tend to get that at WrestleMania, where we're getting match of the night candidates that don't happen to be the main event, and they just keep outshining the main event over and over again. And this is a perfect example of that.
Yeah. Man, you can't. You took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, that's the best way to summarize it. Also, we had a World Heavyweight Championship matchup between Christian and Edge. Or I'm sorry, not Christian. Chris Jericho and Edge. That would have been fucking awesome. Book that.
Yep.
Some Mania. Won't happen, but Edge against Chris Jericho. Which, if you remember at the time, the storyline, like Chris Jericho and Edge had just started tag team, and literally, I think 3 weeks after the tag team formed, ended up Edge got hurt, was out for a while, and then he somehow was able to come back at this year's Royal Rumble, win the Rumble, and thus we got Jericho against Edge. And this is another one. It's like both are great competitors, but this is another forgettable matchup. I mean, it's okay. It's not terrible. It's just it's another one that it's there.
It was so. I feel like their feud was set up so long before. Which, don't get me wrong, Edge gets hurt. There's a way to set up a angle with someone who is injured, but I feel like the time was just so long. Between Edge getting hurt and the match actually happening, to where it's kind of like you go into it with we figure this is going to happen, and we're just kind of waiting for it to be over.
Yeah.
If it was over like Shampoo instead of a World Championship, it probably would have been better.
Shampoo's always better than the title, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, because keep in mind we're in the Chris Jericho era of the frosted tips. Just saying. Let's run down the rest of this WrestleMania card, because this is a pretty big card. 11 total matches. Your opener was Show Miz. I know there's some head scratchers. Yes, it's the Big Show and the Miz, and they were tag team champions for some reason. Going up against R-Truth and John Morrison. Oh
boy.
Yep. See, it made Hambone just get the fuck out of his seat. I don't blame you, buddy. Also, we had the triple threat matchup as the Legacy broke up with Randy Orton against Ted DiBiase Jr. and a guy you may know, Cody Rhodes. There it is. Oh, yeah.
Slim Jim's in it, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, that is worth like millions of dollars, in my opinion. That damn thing looked awesome. So, but yeah, you did have like kind of this breaking up of the Legacy, and it'd be kind of cool that Cody's like first matchup would come at a Mania would come against Orton and Ted Jr.
Yeah,
The
that one was personally that match was a disappointment for me because I really liked the group. I really
Yeah.
liked all the men in it, and I felt that they had not even scratched the surface of what that group could do. But not only that, then you break them up just for Randy
Yeah.
to be the winner at Mania. Like it
made no sense.
you couldn't have put one of the other guys over, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it made no sense. I do,
No.
Hambone, I totally agree with you, my friend.
But you
Yeah.
see, it was long-term storytelling
Mm.
because it had to. That was one of the things that had to, tear Cody down, right? And then so he would eventually leave and go do the indie thing and start another company, and then he'd eventually come back, and then here we are, long-term
Yeah.
storytelling.
It's part of his career, that's for sure.
At what point in that side story does Ted DiBiase Jr. get sued by the state of Mississippi?
Yes, because he fucked on me. Anyway,
the state of Mississippi tried to fuck on me.
There you go, brother. There was a Money in the Bank ladder match on this card as well. As a matter of fact, I think this is the last WrestleMania with the Money in the Bank ladder match because then they would go to the Money in the Bank on its own pay-per-view. And who won this matchup? Jack Swagger, that's who, because everybody remembers that.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, that
Neat.
happened. Neat. That's the best way to describe it. Neat.
Cool. I guess it'd be cooler with a purple hat, I think.
Yes.
I don't know.
Definitely.
It definitely would be.
Instead of the briefcase, it should have been the hat up there. But the main.
He takes off the hat, hands it to the ref.
Yeah. You are a winner. A winner is you.
Oh crap! Tony Khan watches us, so that's totally going to be a thing now.
Yes, it's going to replace the big brass fucking ring or whatever they got to do, like at the Revolution ladder match. Now it's for the hat. Book it, Tony. You're welcome, Papa Khan. Anyways, so there's also there is a hidden gem match on this one. I think. How about this one? And I'm not going to say it's a banger, but it's a good match. Triple H against Sheamus. That's actually not a bad matchup. If you go, a lot of people forget. Yes, they did meet at WrestleMania, and it was actually a pretty good matchup too. And this is the height and the beginning of Sheamus's kind of first run as a top tier guy, a main event guy. Could have won the Money in the Bank.
I think that, again, Sheamus is another guy that I think is very much taken for granted for about how good he is. You know, it only seems to be the last couple of years where people are really waking up to how good he is, especially for, a bigger guy. He puts on great matches. He really always has. And I also think that, his debut in WWE has always counted against him too, that people were pissed about how quickly he was put into the world title picture. But Sheamus has always been good. People are just realizing it over the past couple of years.
Right. No, I could wholeheartedly agree with that, Hambone. Another matchup of noteworthy on this one. How about Rey Mysterio against CM Punk? Was on this card too. Not a bad matchup. Of course, the storyline was the Muffin Man singing "Happy Birthday" to Ray's daughter, and years later, who would have thunk it? Ray's daughter would bang Buddy Matthews. So it is what it is. Wrestling, yeah.
Buddy Matthews has the Riz, man. I'm telling you, he is pulling some grade A tail. Yeah, respectfully.
I can't remember what year we are in at this point. It's like 2010, maybe. Shit, I don't know, but it's the I think it's the end of the PG or the beginning beginning of the PG era. I think it's 2010. I want to say.
Yeah, 2010.
It is 2010. Yeah,
okay.
2010 in Extreme Leads neck of the woods.
Yeah, there you go. So, and there's one more classic matchup on this show we have to talk about. How about the 10 Diva Tag match? Alicia Fox, Layla, Maurice, Michelle McCool, and Vicky Guerrero against Beth Phoenix, Eve Torres, Gail Kim, Kelly Kelly, and Mickie James. That went a whopping 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Gail Kim deserved better.
Oh my God.
Gail Kim always deserves better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed.
I totally agree. But I mean, like I say,
it was especially disappointing because this was her second run, and we thought that it was going to be different.
Nope, they fucked it up even more somehow. So, yeah, I mean, like I say, this Mania, you had definitely Shawn and Taker is the highlight of it, but still a pretty bad WrestleMania. But you know what, though, the way I look at it, it can't get worse than this. Which WrestleMania are we talking about next? Fuck! Oh, God. Let's do it. Written in the stars that it sucked ass. WrestleMania 27. Motherfucker. Oh, okay. B-roll, I want you to put up a poll right now. Is WrestleMania 27 the worst WrestleMania of all time?
Just yes or no, right?
No, it should just honestly be yes and yes, because damn it, it is. It's fucking awful. This WrestleMania.
We got one good match.
We did get one good match. Thank God for Undertaker and Triple
Yeah.
H.
Well,
Which let's talk about the good first, because we got a lot of bad to talk about. But if you remember, if you look back in the history of this one, I think this is the first time for the build or the start of the build of a matchup where like these two guys just stared at each other and then did the infamous look at the WrestleMania sign, and that's all you need. That's all you needed to know. Like, but yeah, this was kind of like Triple H trying to get revenge for Shawn, continuing that epic storytelling, and just a hell of a matchup. My God, like goes 30 minutes. It's a no holds barred matchup. It's a physical, brutal war. It is like, I don't know, it reminded me of just like classic old school like wrestling, like back in the like Magnum TA versus Tully Blanchard, like Crockett stuff. It's a damn good matchup, and it definitely is the best matchup on this show. Guys, what do you remember about that Undertaker Triple H clash?
So
I love that. I love that the build up, like what you just mentioned. I love that. That's all it was. That all it was two guys staring at each other, looking at a sign, and that was all that we as fans needed because we knew what that meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say like this compared to later subsequent manias with Triple H and longer matches, you know, it's a dance. So you have to have the right partner, and all of these Taker Triple H matches that we're about to go through really do show like Triple H can have that long WrestleMania match, and it isn't as big of an ego thing as it probably is, and that people tend to think it is, but like it goes to show that when two greats get in the ring together, they can really make something big and powerful not feel daunting. And this is kind of like right as WrestleMania got to that so extremely long to where we're watching for like 7 hours sort of a vibe where, yeah, you can get away with a 30-minute match on this card, especially if you give like a 6-person tag 32 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the poll is up in live, people. I will tell you that, and I will say so far. So we have yes, we have hell yes, and no. And so far, hell yes is winning.
Rightfully so. There's only one option here, folks. But yeah, and the one thing I want to say about this matchup too is you talk about phenomenal storytelling. If you got to put yourself back in this time frame. Taker was still actively wrestling, like and touring and stuff. This Mania kind of marked the end of him doing that to where you just got Taker once a year. And think about that, because the build was like Triple H, even though Taker won the match, Triple H beat him so bad that the Undertaker had to go away for an entire year before he could come back. I mean, I'll never forget like Taker when he was leaving and he collapsed on the ramp or whatever, and they had to take him out like on a cart or something. I mean, it's a hell of a matchup and a very, very memorable moment. It's just a damn shame it's on this fucking WrestleMania.
I think that this is the last truly like great WrestleMania, or excuse me, the last truly great Undertaker match. I think that after this match is when we all started to really realize how much Undertaker was starting to slow down and wasn't having the greatest matches anymore after this. So I think that this is a very significant match for him because of that.
Yeah, I agree. I do think he still at least had a couple more good ones after this, but you're right. They're few and far between. Let's definitely say that. But we talked about the good. Let's talk about the bad. And folks, there is a ton of bad on this fucking show. So bad, in fact, that it actually made another shout out to your video you put out, Extremely. The two matches on this show is on your list, and they are in the top 3 of worst matches of all time.
Let's load up that thumbtack cereal, baby.
Yeah,
I'm ready to eat.
Now I do have to disagree with your list slightly, because, in my opinion, the worst matchup on this. Oh, what's the poll? Hell yes, 100%. So there you go. There you have it, folks. It's the worst. And in my opinion, the worst match in WrestleMania history is fucking Jerry Lawler against Michael Cole.
Oh,
what
boy. Oh, boy.
I'm willing to get into details on why that wasn't number one for me, but heel Michael Cole actively made me stop watching wrestling. Yeah. To be fair, that and a laptop.
Yeah.
I especially hate because I am from Syracuse, New York, and that is where Michael Cole went to college. And this motherfucker is just out there having one of the worst matches ever in our goddamn fucking colors, and it still pisses me off to this day.
And can we talk about the god-awful disgrace on his body of just this piss poor drawn by a 7-year-old kiss tattoos? I mean, can we talk about that? I mean, Jesus.
Michael Cole, you make so much more money than to get this kind of work, bud. What happened? Who hurt you?
Yeah. Like, here is the mind-boggling thing about this matchup. I mean, it's one thing to have this match at a Mania, and I get it. They did it mainly so Jerry Lawler could have a WrestleMania match. But poor King, come on. The King deserves so much better than this. Say what you will about Lawler, but fuck. But the thing that blows my mind about this fucking matchup, I think the most, is the fact that they got 13 fucking minutes on the card and just the match alone, and that's not counting all the bullshit and the build up. They probably had more closer to about 20 to 30 minutes if you count. It feels forever.
It feels like it lasts forever, and then once you think it's over, you're like, oh, thank God this is over. And I remember they were like, yeah, Jerry the King Lawler wins, and I'm like, wait, no, something else happens, and I'm watching on the network, and I'm like, no, there's more time. I was like, what happened? And then I heard the notification, and I was like, I'm like, cool, time to throw away my laptop.
It's even more annoying because, we talk about, Jerry Lawler deserved better than this at WrestleMania. Not only did he deserve better, but we're supposed to believe that Michael fucking Cole is going to go 13 minutes with an absolute legend in professional wrestling at WrestleMania. Like, get out of here with that shit.
I will say my one enjoyable part of this match is when Michael Cole is in his little glass box and Jerry shakes his hand and he just brings him in like a cartoon and starts slamming his head against the glass. He's like, Jerry, I'm sorry. Jerry, I'm sorry.
And the face, I will say this, the facial expressions on Michael Cole is pretty fucking funny.
Michael Cole tried.
Yeah, he did what he could. But yeah, I just, this match fucking fell on its face. But it's not your worst match. Your worst match of all time is the main event. So let's talk about the main event. John Cena challenging The Miz for the WWE Championship. And before we get deep in that, I want to say this. Taking out of like what happened in that matchup and the build and yada yada, I really enjoyed The Miz's entrance because I love the Nas video playing at the beginning.
Yeah,
I did the shit out of that.
That was one of the best. Yeah, one of the best intros to a WrestleMania entrance, in my opinion. That was great.
So there was that, but it just goes rapidly downhill after that. So Extreme League, buddy, I gotta know. Tell the people, talk to us. Yeah, why is this the worst WrestleMania main event or match ever?
Well, let me tell you, brother. Yeah. So here's my thing. If I buy WrestleMania on pay-per-view, it is essentially the finale to the WWE year. And if your advertisement is going to be of next year's WrestleMania, then why did I come to this WrestleMania? Effectively, this WrestleMania doesn't matter. You've told me that I've wasted my time and my money, and that's what I hate from a creative standpoint and as a fan, which is like, why am I spending all this money if you're just going to be like, oh, come back next year and see the Rock versus John Cena. It's like, believe it or not, I paid money to see the Miz versus John Cena, not to get advertised to.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong, dude. You're not wrong. I mean, it's just like, I was happy to see The Rock back, and happy that we're going to get The Rock. And I think we're going to talk about here in a minute about WrestleMania 28. And I did like how that was kind of built up over a year, but it shits all over this WrestleMania. And the fact that the Miz got concussed and barely could finish the matchup. And I want to say this, people hate on the Miz, but I think you got to give the Miz a lot of credit because
Agreed.
he was put in a hard fucking spot in this matchup. And he did everything he could in his power to make it great and get his WrestleMania moment.
Yeah.
He tried. And don't get me wrong, I respect the Miz. I like some of his work, but it's just, he got dinged from being put in an impossible situation to get over in.
Yeah. That's a great way of putting it, man. So, all right, let's run down the rest of this WrestleMania card here. Talking about your opening matchup, your Edge defending the World Heavyweight Championship against another guy who should definitely be on the "fuck you" shirt, Alberto Del piece of shit-o. Fuck Alberto Del Rio, fucking asshole.
Agreed.
That's like the whole theme of this episode.
Fuck this guy. Fuck this guy. You're cool.
I'm out.
I'm pointing at Hornswoggle. You're cool. I'm out.
Yeah, I will say this, I'm so glad that Edge's last WrestleMania match wasn't against fucking Del Rio, man. Even though it wasn't a bad matchup or anything like that, but because after this, folks, this would be when Edge had to retire, pretty much. So, but thank God we're getting Edge, and we're getting a hell of a, I think, great matchup this year too. At this year's WrestleMania. Also, here's a hidden gem of a matchup on this card. And talking about this year's WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes against Rey Mysterio. I loved this storyline with the Cody Rhodes, the dashing, and now it's like he's disfigured because of the 619 and the knee brace. He's like, oh, don't look at me. I'm a disgusting monster. And this is a fucking great match.
This is where I really became a fan of Cody Rhodes. I fucking loved dashing Cody Rhodes, and I loved the mask gimmick after, which when it happened, I was like, oh man, we're really ruining, because I thought dashing Cody Rhodes was a great gimmick. I loved it. It entertained the shit out of me. And I really thought that the mask gimmick was kind of a step down from it, but it proved to be otherwise. He did great with that as well. This is like prime Cody Rhodes for me at this time.
Absolutely, man. There's another decent matchup on this too. You got to talk Randy Orton against CM Punk. And then how about that finish, that RKO from the slingshot clothesline? Pretty good finish.
Yeah.
Pretty decent matchup. Didn't really care for Punk being the leader of the Nexus. I thought that was fucking stupid, but
agreed.
This is the time frame where we have a fucking computer controlling the show, folks. You got to keep that in mind.
That's good shit, pal.
To be fair, it wasn't just a computer. It was Hornswoggle.
Oh, yes, horny
himself. Give me Lawler versus Hornswoggle at 39. I've been waiting 10 years for this finally to pay off.
Book it. Get his revenge. An 8-man tag team match with the Core. I know that's another one you people are like, who the fuck's the Core?
Yeah.
The Core was
with 2 R's.
Yeah, with 2 R's because we're badass. Wade Barrett, Justin Gabriel, Heath Slater, and Ezekiel Jackson. Going against the Big Show, Kane, Santino Marella. Supposed to actually be Vladimir Kozlov, but they wrote him off of this matchup, and it ended up being Kofi Kingston placed in this matchup. And this is an 8-man tag, folks, and guess what? It goes 32 seconds. If that doesn't tell you enough about this fucking match, I don't know what will.
Also, real quick, because we talked about it earlier, about Undertaker and Edge. What we didn't mention was in that same interview, Undertaker said that Vince McMahon wanted the streak to be broken by Vladimir fucking Kozlov.
Yikes.
The wrestling potato?
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been atrocious on so many levels.
Worse than Brock.
Yeah. And I feel like we've talked enough about this fucking WrestleMania, but guess what, folks? As bad as it is, there's one more shit show, and you mentioned her earlier. Yes, fucking Snooki is on this WrestleMania too. Like, if you didn't have enough bad taste in your mouth and was wanting to regurgitate, oh yeah, the girl from fucking Jersey Shore is in this fucking match in this WrestleMania too, as it was Snooki teaming with Trish Stratus and John Morrison, because that makes no fucking sense, going up against Dolph Ziggler and Layla and Michelle Cool. And I'm going to say this, fucking Lay Cool deserves so much better, because that was a great fucking tandem and a great group. And this is the only real WrestleMania moment they have, and it's a damn shame it was on this shit show of a card.
I was never a big fan of Michelle McCool herself, but I did like Lay Cool as a tandem, and I thought that Layla did not get the recognition she deserved either. I thought she was much better than the position she was ever put in.
Yeah. Well, as bad as the WrestleMania 27 was, and 26 wasn't that great either, can we finally talk about a good one? And let's talk about WrestleMania 28. I love this WrestleMania, man. I have fond memories of this one. There's a lot of great matchups. Of course, we're finally getting that matchup. What they build is the match of the lifetime.
Once in a lifetime.
The Rock and John Cena. As bad as it was at WrestleMania 27, I got to ask you, fellows, like, how did you feel, though, about finally getting to this and getting the matchup between The Rock and Cena? Were you pumped for it? Were you just kind of like, see what happens?
I was fine for it here.
Yeah.
I was fine for it on this one.
Okay.
After this, I have issues.
Okay, fair enough. And we're going to get those issues, because that's what we do. We get through our issues and we talk about them here on Learning the Ropes. And we're going to overtime, but it's okay, because we're talking WrestleMania.
It's just a big therapy session.
Yeah, it really is. So The Rock obviously defeating John Cena. And it was a pretty good matchup, I thought. I enjoyed seeing The Rock back, and I'm like, who doesn't forget about all the pageantry going into this one? But also, we got to talk about the end of an era, the Hell in a Cell match between The Undertaker and Triple H. As great as the No Holds Barred match was, actually, can we do another poll here, B-Roll? I want to see which Taker Triple H match did you like more, 27 or 28? And guys, I'm going to ask you that question right now. Did you like this one better than 27, or did you like 27 better?
I prefer 28 just because, that one involved Shawn as well. We got the moment at the end where, I mean, that moment at the end, I honestly thought they were all done.
Yeah.
I thought that was the perfect send off, and that's what they were telling us was that, hey, we're all done after this. So I prefer that one, but I think it's more for sentimental reasons over the actual match itself.
Yeah, and I would completely agree with you. It's like this finally put a bow on everything, on Shawn, on Taker, on Triple H. Yeah. You could have not touched the streak and just let it be. Mind you, I love the Taker match that follows this one for different reasons, but it really would have been just the perfect bow on everything to just leave it be, finally have it done. But of course, with wrestling, never say never, and never say that a retirement is going to stick.
There you go. Yeah, I really dug this matchup. And I agree with you guys too. And Hambone, you hit the nail on the head. That's that image of the three of these guys at the end of it. Oh man, it's another one of those iconic images of WrestleMania lore that you remember all throughout the years. And they put on a hell of a great matchup on this show. Another good matchup is good because we got some good ones on this one, folks. Another great one that I don't think gets nearly enough credit is the WWE Championship matchup between CM Punk and Chris Jericho. It was a really good matchup. Very underrated.
Yep. Very underrated match.
Very, very underrated feud matchup. Everything in between.
Yeah, they had great chemistry. The storytelling was great. And it was a battle of literally best in the world versus best in the world, man. Super awesome matchup. Definitely another noteworthy moment. But talking about noteworthy moments, and at the time you saw this, it didn't. You kind of pissed you off, like to some fans. But if this moment doesn't happen, I don't think this guy gets nearly enough momentum. And I'm talking about your opening matchup, where you would really see the genesis of yes, no, Daniel Bryan, as he would be defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Sheamus. And this is that infamous 18-second kiss of death match where Daniel Bryan kisses AJ Lee, Sheamus hits the Brogue Kick, and ends the title run. And this was kind of, too, one of the first times in, like, a WrestleMania where, like, a main event matchup, I can remember where I was like, I got like, holy shit, like, that's the fucking finish. Like, they went right into it. Like, kind of felt, at the time, it felt like it was a throwaway. But boy, it's, you talk about telling the story of Daniel Bryan and stuff. I mean, it's funny how you look back on that on hindsight. So I got to ask you guys a question. Put yourself back in that time frame. Were you pissed off about this matchup, or were you okay with it?
I fucking hated it because I was a big fan of, I mean, I still am a big fan of both of these men. And I was, first off, expecting to have a great match out of them. But more than that, again, I mean, Daniel Bryan was being put in this position as the world heavyweight champion, something that I think a lot of, you know, us hardcore fans were looking forward to at this time. And to see it just taken away from him in that way was just extremely, extremely disappointing. But as you said, had it not happened, would we have gotten what we got afterwards with Daniel Bryan? Who knows? You know, if it hadn't happened, it could have went a very different way.
Yeah, it could have been like you just never even really talk about Daniel Bryan at all, like really in that same vein as people do.
Yeah, but at the time, nah, I was not happy about it.
And like over the course of history too, like you look back at it and it's like, would you want them to go longer? And honestly, no, because of just all the accidents and butterfly effects that happened after this Mania. Like we got what we wanted at the end of it. We just had to wait 2 years.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre how that works, but like, yeah, it's one of those things. And this is another thing where, I mean, this isn't definitely, I don't think WWE's plan all along was like, oh yeah, we're going to have him main event WrestleMania in 2 years. Not at all. No. Not at all. But it just goes to show you the credit of, like, you know, you're being handed chicken shit and you turn it into chicken salad. And that's exactly what Daniel Bryan did. But let's run down the rest of this card, gentlemen. You also had Kane one-on-one against Randy Orton. Not a bad matchup, actually. And believe it or not, the mayor of Knox County would pick up the win. Now, this match, not as great. The Big Show against Cody Rhodes for the Intercontinental title. Big Show would win the IC title, which was like, okay. But it was like, well, I guess we get the Big Show gets a win at WrestleMania. So there's that. So, oh, and here's our results. So, it's 50-50.
It was 50-50.
Which I can respect that. I mean, both are great matches. In addition, on this card, we had another riveting Divas tag team match. Kelly and Maria Menounos against Beth Phoenix and Eve Torres. Which I will say this, like Maria Menounos, who you all know, like, I don't know what she's doing now, but she used to host Extra back in the day. Huge super fan, super nice lady. Like, she didn't look too bad in this matchup, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, this you know, again, a shit match for the ladies, but I will agree with you because, first off, at this time, I had a huge crush on Maria Menounos. But more than that, the fact that she was a huge wrestling fan, you know, it definitely showed in the match because she definitely put on a much better performance than I was expecting.
Yeah, that's fair. And in addition to that, we got to talk about, speaking of Eve Torres, she would have a WrestleMania moment here later. Part of the classic Team Johnny versus Team Teddy. Who fucking cares? This was just to get guys on the card. No offense. But so you had Team Johnny was captained by David Otunga, along with Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Jack Swagger, Mark Henry, and The Miz, with Brie Bella in their corner as the flag bearer or something, and Vicky Guerrero was the mascot or something. I don't know. What the fuck? Going against Team Teddy, which was led by Santino Marella, Booker T, Kofi Kingston, the Great Khali, R-Truth, and Zack Ryder. And they were with Hornswoggle as their mascot, and the Nikki Bella was the ring announcer. I don't fucking know. Who cares? I mean, it's just like, let's just get all them in. The only thing I really remember about this is at the end of it where Zack Ryder got kicked in the balls by Eve Torres. That's like all I really remember about this one.
Yeah.
The wrestling happens for 10 minutes and Matt Cardona gets racked. That's the start and the end of it.
But it's okay, bro, because you got to be always ready to get kicked in the nuts at WrestleMania. Let's move on here, gentlemen. So let's go a year later because we had the match that it was once in a lifetime until a year later. Because, yes, we're talking WrestleMania 29 and Extreme League. I want to come right to you because you mentioned you kind of had some beef about what happened later on with The Rock and Cena. Please do pray tell.
So my main issue with it is this. Now, look, I'm a big CM Punk fan, and I agree with a lot of, at the time, CM Punk's comments after he walks out of WWE, like a lot of his gripes with not being in the match. And I agree that he should have been there. My gripe isn't necessarily with that. It's that you build John Cena to where he had like the worst year of his life. Like he got divorced and he kept losing. But the thing is, he was still John Cena.
Never give up, bro.
Yeah, he still won a majority of his feuds. He still buried people. Like the idea that he has to like work up to beat The Rock. Why not have him go on like this huge losing streak and then have him work up to beating The Rock like towards the build to Mania? But instead like I'm here telling you like this. It's like telling me like Tom Brady's the underdog, and it's like any part of his NFL career before this year. It's like, no, he's not an underdog. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. Like, why would I buy into him being behind? It's the same with John Cena. And yeah, he lost to The Rock in the first one, whatever, but it seems just very silly and contrived and not the way you should build a WrestleMania main event.
And let me ask you this, gentlemen. Did this matchup really need the WWE title involved?
No!
I don't think so.
Nope.
You could have just built it as like Brock Cena too, essentially. Because I mean that's what it fucking was. But yeah, this main event, it's okay. It's just like it's another one. Like I get it for what it is, but it's not my favorite by any means. So and you're at the time, a lot of people were really pissed off because CM Punk was not in this main event. But I will say this, and Punk right there just as pissed off as the fans too. I mean, he didn't get a bad consolation prize though, because he did get to wrestle The Undertaker, and I think a phenomenal matchup.
If I could, I'd like to give my opinion on this match, and then I have to jump off because I'm doing this on my phone, and my phone is almost dead. But again, two of my all-time favorites. CM Punk is 1B to Shawn Michaels 1A for me, and Undertaker's number 2 for me. So I love this match. I love the build-up to it. I know that a lot of people hate a lot of the stuff that happened with the Paul Bearer passing away and then using his ashes as part of the whole storyline. But I enjoyed that. I know that it's right on the line of maybe too far. But I really liked it. And this was the first time where I thought to myself, I'd be okay if Undertaker lost here. And it's the first time I think that I thought that Undertaker losing would be a good thing, because I thought that if there's a person that could end Undertaker's streak and really use that to, propel himself into being one of the best of all time, it would be CM Punk.
Yeah, I do agree with you there. I think it would have been a much more beneficiary towards him versus the guy who did end up breaking the streak. But I will counter that with this. Would WWE been able to deliver on it, though? And I don't think they would have. I think they would have just fucked it up royally with Punk. Whereas when we're going to talk about this here in a little bit with Lesnar, it was like you couldn't really fuck it up.
Right.
But buddy,
at the end of the day, even had CM Punk won this match, he was just not a guy that WWE felt the need to put the time into, compared to, again, a Brock Lesnar where, Brock broke the streak, but afterwards he got pushed to the fucking moon. If it had been CM Punk breaking it, would they have done the same thing with him? Probably not.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say real quick, Hambone, before you go, let's give you the floor real quick, and you plug your stuff and tell us where we can find you, good sir.
Yeah, so you can find me. I am most active on TikTok. My handle's right there. Who knows how long we're gonna have TikTok at this point? So, we might be losing it, and I might lose, all the followers and everything that I've built into the whole thing. So go follow me elsewhere. You can follow me on Twitter at notorious_bone. You can follow me on Instagram under my shoot name, Thomas.Cummings920. You can find me on my podcast, Ego Drip, the Wrestling Podcast. We are on Twitch every Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m. Me, Con from the 703, and It's Lord Lovelace. You can pretty much find us everywhere, actually. We're live on Twitch at that time. We're live on YouTube at that time. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. We're fucking everywhere, really. You can follow the podcast on TikTok, too, for as long as TikTok is still around, at Ego Drip Podcast. That's the name for it everywhere on Twitch, YouTube, everything, at Ego Drip Podcast. So that is where you can find me.
Damn right. Do it now, you fucking marks.
Yeah, you fucking marks. And speaking of that, might be some fucking Marks merch coming.
Ooh,
let's freaking go.
I like it.
Super excited for that. But we do thank you for hopping on here with us, and definitely go check all of this good man's content out. I will say, especially, I have been enjoying personally the March Mad Drip. It is awesome. Definitely awesome. Yeah,
and I want to
tune in to find out.
I want to go ahead and call it now. I'm gonna say I think the Mysterios are gonna pull off the upset. I think they're gonna win it for you.
I think they might too.
But
I'm going to be honest with you. This matchup that we have coming up is going to be the hardest one for me. The Mysterios versus Mandy Rose at Stand and Deliver. Those are two of my favorite looks, but I think you might be right, XLJ. I think you might be right. Yeah. But I want to thank you guys for having me on here. I always like coming on here with you guys. I love all three of you. You as well, Extreme League. You're one of my favorite people as well. So thank you guys for always having me on. I appreciate being here. And I'll see y'all later, you fucking marks.
Likewise, brother. Catch you later, man.
Have a good night, guys.
Yo, we will. As we're going to continue on here, talking about the rest of WrestleMania 29. So I think we talked about like the main highlights on this one, I would say. There's some other stuff. I mean, Triple H versus Brock Lesnar in a no-holds-barred match. It's all right. It's not spectacular. I guess you could say this is Lesnar's return to WrestleMania, though, as he hadn't competed since 20. I don't know. It was you know what's funny? You know what I remember the most about this fucking match is fucking Triple H's entrance. And him coming out and getting like the freeze burns on him from like the stuff that they used or whatever for his entrance.
Yeah, just that nice glaze of dry ice.
Yeah, the dry ice. Thank you. I couldn't think. My brain couldn't compute. But yes, there was that. But let's run down the rest of the card. I will say this: there is a significant moment on this show, which we may not have realized at the time, but this is the WrestleMania debut of The Shield. So that's right. You get the WrestleMania debuts of Seth freaking Rollins, Dean Ambrose, a.k.a. John Moxley, and the guy y'all may know, the tribal chief himself, Roman Reigns. Not a great matchup, though, for them as they go up against Randy Orton, Sheamus, and The Big Show. Okay. Let's just fucking put these three guys together and just have them go up and job to the Shield, I guess.
It's real universe mode-y.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like random select. Here we go. This matchup, because I remember this guy at the time was built up as just to be the next second coming because Vince likes his big meaty men. But here's another guy you can add to your shirts of fuck him. Ryback going up against Mark Henry. Can I just say this? I am so fucking happy looking back on this that Mark Henry won this match. So fucking happy. Fuck Ryback. Fuck Ryback.
Good old Cryback.
Yeah. Can I just say it one more time? Fuck Ryback.
Go for it, buddy.
There. I feel better.
Fuck Ryback.
Fuck Ryback. I could do that all night. But also, how about the tag team championship matchup with Team Hell No, Daniel Bryan and Kane going up against Dolph Ziggler and another guy making his WrestleMania debut, Big E. Because remember, when they brought Big E in, he was the bodyguard for Dolph Ziggler.
Very true.
Now, I will say this, not so much like, I mean, these guys were hot as hell at the time frame, no pun intended. But the night after WrestleMania, I think you have the greatest night after WrestleMania moment when Dolph Ziggler cashes in the Money in the Bank. Oh my God, what a fucking moment that was. But yeah, that happened the night later. Another debut on this WrestleMania. Go. Going up against Chris Jericho. And going into this, did you in your right mind extremely think that fucking Fandango was going to win this match?
No, not at all. This seems like a good WrestleMania time to build up a new jobber and then have Chris Jericho squash him and then we move on. But Nope.
And dude, he was fucking over at the time too. That night after Mania, I remember the crowd just doing the da. And I remember too, there's video footage because this did take place in New York, but there's video footage of fans like getting on the subway and singing this fucking song. Like he was super over at the time, which is crazy, or at least the song was. So.
Yeah, I mean, believe it or not, Vince has the ability to build stars. He just doesn't know what to do with them after.
Right. And finally, how about this match, which I think was on your list as well, and rightfully so, the World Heavyweight Championship match with Alberto Del Go Fuck Yourself going up against Jack Swagger. Oh, and the narrative on this matchup, yikes.
Yeah, it's going to be a big yikes about the whole racism story.
Like, do we really have to go there? And against, like, and the sympathetic person in this matchup is supposed to be Alberto Del Rio? Fuck, are you kidding me? Fucking A. Yeah, and this is 2013 when this happens, folks. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's a little too Fox Newsy for my personal taste, but I guess it's there for someone. Yeah. I don't know who it is.
But it's there.
It's there. Like we say, there's something for everyone. We're just not sure who this everyone is. Like,
who precisely is everyone? Can I see everyone?
Yeah, I need to see this.
Who is the one that is one of this?
Yeah, I totally agree. So this WrestleMania, I don't know. It's not god awful, but it's not great. It's just another one that's kind of it's okay. It's there. It's like, I would say if you're ranking them, it's kind of in the middle or maybe towards like the end or something. If that's, it's definitely no 27 or 26. I will say those were much worse than this one. But we got one more WrestleMania to talk about here tonight as we've gone into overtime. We're going to end it on a good note. Let's talk about WrestleMania 30 and what I think may arguably be one of the most emotional WrestleManias in history, because there's just so much insane fucking moments that happen on this show. I mean, I don't know what you want to talk about first, but I guess we got to go there because we've been talking about it, the whole history of WrestleMania. Folks, this is the night where that shocked the wrestling world, the end of the streak, as Undertaker would become 21-1 against Brock Lesnar. Now, Hambone had kind of alluded to this. He felt like it would have been more appropriate if Punk was the guy who broke the streak. I got to ask you, Extreme League, looking back on this, has your opinion? Let me ask you, what is your opinion on Lesnar being the guy to end the streak? Like, okay.
I mean, look, it's got to be somebody, right? It can't just. Yeah. It can't be, and then also, like, you look at it and who else really could have done it? But also, while we saw some type of negativity come out with Brock in subsequent Manias and subsequent years of WWE, let's look at it now. Would we have Tribal Chief Roman Reigns if it wasn't for Brock Lesnar? Would we be in the position we are at all if Brock Lesnar doesn't defeat The Undertaker and becomes the Beast Incarnate and has this giant climb up the ladder of WWE? You really don't know. So while I understand the idea of, hey, it shouldn't have been him, Brock Lesnar would not be the same wrestler in our viewpoint in present time if he hadn't beat Taker.
Dude, I totally agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. Irish, you're absolutely right. Total truth. I think
Yeah.
it's like, did Lesnar need this win? Not necessarily, but I think this adds so much to his aura as like just this unstoppable beast. You got to keep in mind too, folks. Like, think of what the follow-up matchup was for Lesnar after this. He comes to SummerSlam in one of the most one-sided main event matches you'll ever see in wrestling history, where he just beats the living fuck out of John Cena for like 16 minutes or whatever it was to win the title.
Yeah.
But this was just kind of like building up his aura as just this unstoppable, undefeatable, undeniable monster. And
Yeah.
just, I'll never forget the facials on the crowd. Like so many, you know, you could. This is another one, a Mania moment where you all like it's etched in the history of time. Just seeing the dude in the Daniel Bryan shirt, that like, fuck. I think even like some of the fans are like celebrities from this moments. Like I forget that guy's name, but like yeah, there's so many that was turned into memes and stuff after this. It's just fucking crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. And yeah, very, as Extremely was talking, I was like, very butterfly effect-ish. Like, like what if this didn't happen? What if it was blah, blah, blah? And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean I mean at the time watching I couldn't believe it, but in hindsight I've kind of grown to accept it. It is what it is. It's like you said, extremely. It's like somebody was going to do it at some point. So, and it's just ironic enough it happens on this WrestleMania, because I think they did it just right, because they knew, okay, if we're going to have this insane devastating moment from like years and years that have been built up and you're shocked to see, you might as well make it be at probably the most feel good WrestleMania moment. And that is the rise of Daniel Bryan, which is a huge element of this WrestleMania. I mean, it's all about the yes movement. I mean, think about that. Like his heights of popularity they forced the WWE's hand to put him in the main event. And thank God they had the hindsight to realize, like, we got to do this. Because if not, if it would have been Batista and Randy Orton in the main event,
Yeah.
who would have fucking cared? And that's no disrespect to those guys.
Yeah. I mean, it was
But-
lightning in a bottle. It was lightning in a
Yeah.
bottle.
Yeah.
And then also you want to talk about butterfly effects. If CM Punk doesn't have that match with Taker and then later walks out, do we see Daniel Bryan in this position? Because
That's
we
right.
know Punk was supposed to wrestle Triple H on this card prior to him walking out after the Rumble.
Yeah,
So really,
exactly.
it's butterfly mania, and it's one of those things where everything finally comes together to where this, for me, is one of the best manias of all time, and I think really one of the best in recent history. This is for me as a fan, this is like one of the last ones to where the whole card feels important outside of maybe like one match, instead of just like one match being important or like a couple of matches being really important on the card.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. And I would argue to say, like, I think this is easily in the top 5 greatest WrestleManias of all time.
100%.
Easily. Yeah. I mean, there's just the Daniel Bryan rise. And let's talk about the matches, too. The opening contest against Triple H. And I will say this, any video package that WWE's ever done, the video package for the Daniel Bryan Triple H match with the Monster song playing, like, holy shit. That is like the best video package I think I've ever seen for any, not just WrestleMania, any match, period. But the matchup itself was awesome. But I think it went like 30 minutes or something. Hell of a way to open the match.
30 minutes and 58 seconds.
Yeah. And it would go on. The winner of the match would go to the main event and get a shot at the World Championship. And let's talk about that main event with Randy Orton, Batista, and Triple H. Because here you have Daniel Bryan. Oh, it's so good. So good. And it's funny because, like, on paper, it really shouldn't be as good as it was, but man, it was good. Because just the whole story with that ultimate underdog, Daniel Bryan, at the end of the Bryan Triple H match, getting jumped, has the wrecked shoulder, comes back triumphantly, gets taken out in the match by Batista and Randy Orton, a sick double powerbomb into an RKO, like on a table moment, which is insane. And then coming out and then still fighting off the Authority, and just like the finish of this is fucking great too, because you think Orton's going to win, and then Batista gets his shit in, and like Batista bombs Orton, and it's like, okay, Batista's winning, and then Daniel Bryan out of nowhere hits the knee and then gets him in the yes lock or the crossface. And the rest they say is history. And who will never forget another thing? We've been talking about it all night, folks. WrestleMania images. Daniel Bryan celebrating at the end of the night, raising both titles up, and everybody in the fucking Superdome just going nuts, man, and just the confetti falling and just like that scene. My God, that's chef's kiss.
Yeah, I think after this, I think I may, before I go to bed, I think I may watch this match. I feel like I just need like a good, feel good match to watch as I'm going to bed this evening. And I think this may be it. This may be it.
And here's something to noteworthy too. Like I'm just looking it up here. 28 minutes and 20 seconds is how long the main event is. So think about that. Daniel Bryan wrestled for close to an hour on this WrestleMania card.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just this card, WrestleMania, is just something else for those two main moments. But we've got some other good stuff on this card too. Some of it not as memorable. So we'll go ahead and talk about that. The Shield in a 6-man tag against Kane and the New Age Outlaws. Okay, yeah, that happened. Sure.
Seems a little repeaty from last year, but sure.
And it's corporate Kane, mind you. This one, not a great moment, but I do want to talk about a great moment. How about the first ever Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal? And the winner would be Cesaro in his first real moment in the WWE. And it's like, we all love Cesaro, Claudio. And just him picking up the Big Show and body slamming him over the top rope. Holy shit. That was fucking awesome. As Spence would say, that's good shit, pal. But I love Cesaro getting a WrestleMania moment. How about the singles matchup? Talk about long-term storytelling. John Cena versus Bray Wyatt.
You want to talk about butterfly effects? We had to have a whole pandemic in order for this match to make sense.
Right? How crazy is that? I think you bring up a good point. I think that's the only time in WrestleMania history, maybe even in wrestling history, where a match happens and it's like, it's decent, it's okay, but then some shit happens like 5 or 6 years later, and it's like, oh, okay, now I get it. That match is actually better than I thought it was.
They had to retcon it, but it worked.
Yeah. But that just goes to show you the amazement of Bray Wyatt, his character development. And this would be Bray Wyatt's first WrestleMania matchup. But the Cena Bray Wyatt match, in hindsight, actually a pretty decent match. There is a Vicky Guerrero Invitational match for the Divas Championship. We're getting better, sort of, folks, but it's still shit shows. But AJ Lee pretty much goes over every available woman on the roster, essentially, because this match even has, like, Rosa Mendez is in it. You also have, like, Cameron's in it. Let's just run down the roster. Oksana, Alicia Fox, Brie Bella, Cameron, Emma, Eva Marie, Layla, Naomi, Natalya, Nikki Bella, Rosa Mendez, Summer Rae, and Tamina, all in this matchup. But
and no, she's known as Tamina Snuka at the time.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So Tamina, as Chubby likes to say, believe it or not, Tamina is one of his favorite wrestlers. True story.
Oh,
yeah.
A dog of fine taste.
Yes. And then we got to talk about I think this is the first WrestleMania. Well, no, 27, I guess, was the first one they did this, but where they really kind of started doing every year that we got to have a host of WrestleMania. And there for WrestleMania 30, the celebration, there could only be one, brother. That's right. They bring back Hulk Hogan. Fuck. But I will say this. There was a pretty cool moment to kick off the 30th anniversary of WrestleMania because you have Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Rock all in the ring. But, of course, the best part is the fact that fucking Hulk Hogan's like, the Silverdome, brother. And he does it multiple times. It's the Superdome.
I love to think he has his gear in the back, and he's like, man, Andre's going to be here, and I'm going to slam him. This is going to be great.
Yeah. It's like, no. And then he catches himself. Oh, I'm sorry, brother. It's the Superdome. I'm thinking when I slam that big, nasty giant, dude. But I just love how Austin comes out, and he just, like, rips on Hogan for calling it the fucking Silverdome, and then The Rock does it, too. It's just like, that's pretty good. But yeah, overall, man, this WrestleMania is a pretty pretty phenomenal one. It definitely goes down as one of the greats of all times. And just you talk about like insane moments, just the Daniel Bryan's rise and the end of the Undertaker streak. I mean, that really summarizes this Mania the best, I think. Wouldn't you guys say?
Most definitely.
Yeah, I mean, feel good. I mean, that's the word, like the closing of it, like sending the people home happy. Like it's just
Yeah, absolutely. And well, folks, I think this is going to go down in Learning the Ropes history as the longest episode ever, but that's okay.
a near
Because,
a near 3 hour episode. Well, we did, if you count the watch along as an episode, but
we're not, but it's all good. But we've come down to the wire here, and we appreciate you still sticking around with us. But as always, when we end our show, we got to do it right. We got to do it with one last plug-a-palooza. And if you joined us earlier in the night, you saw where, yes, Chubby is taking over Cole TV all this week. So
a chubby TV, if you will.
Yeah, it's going to be Chubby TV. So he's got a Best of Chub Life special coming out Wednesday. And the newest episode of Chub Life will be out this upcoming Friday. And he'll have some shorts and stuff in between because we're letting him take over. And we just hope and pray to God he doesn't get us kicked off YouTube.
True story. But also, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show as well, in the new Chub Life episode titled It's My Birthday, there will be maybe some surprise appearances.
A lot of cameos, and including celebrities. I'll just say that.
Yep. So be prepared. Also, starting tomorrow, Chubby merch will.
Apparently, CDC is saying we got to plug his TikTok, so go check out the CDC83 on TikTok. And he's got a clip of our show. I can't wait to see what this is going to be.
Oh gosh, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
The people have been asking for it. Chubby merch will be available tomorrow. Use the code Chubby to save 10% off because hey, he may be a butthole, but we love him, and he has some pretty cool merch. And it's his birthday.
Cool merch.
It's his birthday. I can't remember which day his actual birthday is, but I know it's this week.
Yeah.
I'm a bad uncle.
And I'm a bad father because I can't remember either, but it's okay. But hey, it's some pretty awesome merch. I mean, you got everything from t-shirts to the beanie to the hoodie. And yes, we even have shirts for children and crop tops for you ladies or guys, whatever, Yeah.
I
So there you
mean,
go.
extremely, if you're looking for, something to wear with those Daisy Dukes.
Get you a chubby crop top.
It'd be great. It'd be absolutely great.
Yeah, that'll get you fused, my friend. Trust me.
Yeah, buddy. But then also, I mean, last but certainly not least, extremely, floor is yours, good sir. Plug yourself. Tell us where we can find you.
Awesome. Well, I am Extremely Wrestling on YouTube, the Tiki Talk for as long as that's going to be a thing, Instagram, and also ELW4 Life on Twitter. Please feel free to check out my Work for Life. Make sure to check out my worst WrestleMania matches list that just dropped today. Shout out to you guys for plugging that for me throughout the episode. It's WrestleMania month right now, so until Mania happens, it's going to be Mania centric. And subscribe and turn on your notifications because there might be some stuff with our boys from Learning the Ropes.
Ooh, there you go. And hey, real quick, just to kind of capitalize on, you mentioned WrestleMania. We've kind of announced this, but we haven't really kind of come out. We'll have a full schedule because it's going to be nuts. We are going to have WrestleMania week on Cole TV, and we are literally going to have something going every day of the week. And it's going to get really crazy because the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which I think that's March 30th to the April 2nd, we are going to be doing watch-alongs, not just of WrestleMania, but of other events going on that weekend as well. That's right. We're talking the GCW collective shows. We're talking the Joshi Pro show. We're talking Ring of Honor show. We're talking New Japan's Impact show. And the list goes on and on.
Yep.
Because it's the most wonderful time of year for wrestling fans.
Yep.
It's WrestleMania week. And we're going to do it right over on Cole TV.
That is right. And we always say that wrestling is best with friends. So come enjoy it with us. We may try to get some people on
Oh yeah.
with us. So like CDC, if you're available for any of those GCW shows, we would definitely, love
Already
to have you.
slid into his DMs.
That's right, brother. That's how we roll
There you
here
have it.
at Learning the Ropes.
Oh my goodness, what a night it has been. We appreciate you all for joining us here tonight. And once again, if you're not following them, you all need to go follow them. Extreme League Wrestling, and of course our good friend Hambone. We appreciate you gentlemen coming on and joining us. And it's the most wonderful time of year. Gotta love WrestleMania and looking back on the past of WrestleMania history. So there you go. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for us until next week. And once again, hopefully we're here next week. Hopefully Chubby doesn't get us kicked off, but I'm Xlj the Og with Mr. B-Roll, and we'll see you on another episode of Learning the Ropes. Everybody have a wonderful Sunday.